Welcome back to Watkins Glen and the Salem 6 hours of the Glen here on Fox Sports 1. You ride with Memo Rojas. After a crash and fix a while back, they run 10 laps down to the race-leading Corvette Daytona prototype of Joao Barbosa. While Rojas drives, let's hear from his teammate, Scott Pruitt.
Scott, obviously this is not why we want to come over and interview you. This makes it tough, obviously, for the rest of the season. This is really turning into a points race. Score the points and get through. What all was damaged, and I mean, are you guys okay to make it to the end now?
Well, needless to say, we were hugely disappointed. The Ganassi guys did a great job getting the car back together. There was just a lot of the structure was damaged in the rear. They ripped it all off, put all new stuff back on, got the car back out. Now we're just focused on getting whatever points we can out of my family at home. Just seeing what still a lot, 3 hours left. A lot of things can happen. Just see if we can get whatever we can. That's all we can do. Just disappointing for Telmex, for Ford, for everybody, but we'll just keep digging.
All right, guys, back to you.
All right. Good luck to Scott Pruitt and Memo Rojas.
More bad news for Rojas. Mexico just lost. 2 late goals by the Netherlands. They're out of the World Cup, so not a good day for him.
Winners at the 12 hours of Sebring. Rojas and Pruitt. First victory for the Ford EcoBoost powertrain.
That was a big moment for him, too, I'll tell you.
Yeah, they have quite a history at Sebring, does Ford Motor Company.
Minute 30 to go before we get those bonus points awarded, and Action Express seem to have played the strategy perfectly. They run 1-2 in this race. If they don't have to make a pit stop within that time, I think they were good. They had 3 hours 42 to go when they made that pit stop, or when they left pit lane. They've been running about 45 minutes on a stint. They should be good to stay out there and get those critical bonus points.
Counting down the last minute.
The way this season's going, I mean, those bonus points we could really play in by the end of the year.
In terms of how they freeze the field, Dorsey, in terms of at the 3 hour mark, we asked this with the race stewards. Essentially, when we see the 3 hour mark come up, they'll basically freeze timing and scoring at that point. So, in fact, you may have go back to the lap before, if you know what I mean. So when we see 3 hours on the clock, 3 hours to go, we'll look at the timing and scoring, and that will be the freeze in terms of where the track positions were at that very point. They don't wait for the end of the next lap.
It'll be about 25 seconds from now.
Car has been quick all day long. There's the second place runner, Brian Frizzell. Bert Frizzell's brother, of course. Frizzell boys doing a great job, and here comes Westy. He's catching.
Doesn't look like he's going to be able to get there in time to claim second place points at the 3 hour mark.
Pretty cool. He's almost right at the stripe at the 3 hour line. So.
Well, that's the halfway point right now. That's the halfway point right now.
They'll actually go back to the previous laps. I think he actually crossed the line after 3 hours, so they'll actually go back to the previous lap. So even if Westbrook had gotten by Frizzell in those final 2 corners, I don't think it would have counted.
Amazing how well this team runs in the endurance events on the circuit. Winners at Daytona, the Rolex 24 in January to start off the 2014 season. They ran well at Sebring, which is how you get to lead the points. And now here they are in the 4th longest event of the year. The 3rd longest will be the Petit Le Mans, 1,000 miles or 10 hours, whichever comes first, coming our way in October from Road Atlanta.
They've just been so strong this year, coming out of the box with that huge win at the Rolex Daytona 24-hour race. We spoke to Christian and Joao the other day, and they just said we came into this season so well prepared. We did a lot of mileage, a lot of testing, and it really showed as we rolled off the truck at every single race this year. Went on a podium run. Obviously, that was ruined at the last race with that late race tire blowout with the contact between Joao Barbosa and Ricky Taylor. Otherwise, they had a podium run throughout this season.
Here's the overall leaderboard at the halfway mark. The 2 Action Express cars, then Richard Westbrook in the Visit Florida machine. PC leaders Andy Junqueira and Lewis in 09.
Unbelievable that Tagliani's car was actually leading at the halfway point. That's the car that had that huge incident here yesterday with major damage to theirs and the Miller Racing PC machine as well. Pruitt, Rojas, and Sage Cameron is actually the 3rd driver. I haven't really spoken much about that. The Indy Lights champion who ran with Chip Ganassi Racing at the Daytona 500, Indy 500. And finished with a nice top 10 run there and ran with the team at Daytona and Sebring as well.
Now we understand the number 2 from Extreme Speed Motorsports is back on track, running 47th and 12th in class in the hands of Johannes van Overbeek. There's the number 3 Corvette. They have just made a pit stop.
They would have got the bonus points for leading GTLM in the Patron Endurance Cup.
Fallen to 7th in class from the class lead, which is now held by the sister car, the number 4 for Oliver Gavin.
These guys have looked really tough here today. When we've been on board with them, the cars look really stable. The guys are not fighting the race car. Really good stuff. But talk about a team that's performing here today. They're with Darren Law right now.
Christian, car looks great. Obviously, you guys are running up front. You got the halfway points for NAEC. Talking with Ian Watt, you guys are doubling the whole way through. How grueling is it in the heat?
It's pretty warm in there. We have been in these situations before, and I tell you, like in the car right now, it's pretty hot. But so far, as you mentioned, everything was working really good. We got the points for the Patron Endurance Championship, which was very important for us. Let's try to keep the car up there. We still have a long ways to go, but everything is working fine, and we'll see where we stack up at the end of the race.
Okay, now, you know, I ran with you guys in 12, and we won this race. Last year, you ran with Joao and won this race. What makes this program so good?
Well, obviously there's the pressure, the 3 meets and everything, but right now, what's going through my mind and Joao's mind is just concentrating on the race and trying to win the race like any other race. It's not because we won it last year and you won it with him 2 years ago that adds an extra pressure on top of us. We're just trying to do the best job as we can. And Action Express has put a great load of effort behind the program. Chevy has given us excellent engines, so we'll see what we can get out of this race.
All right, guys, I know this team, and they run well they're a well-oiled machine. I don't doubt they'll be there at the finish.
It was interesting talking with Christian Fittipaldi the other day. One of the things he considered to be a strength of the team was that they haven't necessarily jumped on new technology. And case in point, paddle shifting. Christian said, we decided to stay with the tried and true shift lever method of changing gears, which I thought was interesting. Normally, a team will jump on the newest technology.
They will, but I think when you introduce it mid-season, I mean, as tight as this championship is, Bob, the last thing you want to do is introduce something you're not totally comfortable with, not having the amount of mileage on, not doing enough testing with, to ensure that any of the little niggly problems that the other team sorted out in pre-season testing, you don't suddenly encounter in the middle of your championship year.
They will switch over after this season's over and do the tuning on that system and make sure that it is what they want.
Dual pit stops completed down at Star Works. There are the 2 Vipers running together, the 93 and the 91.
And the vets just made their pit stop, so the Vipers now assume the lead in this beautiful livery. Really brings back some great memories of the Orica squad from France coming over here with so much success going head-to-head with the Corvette for many years, winning many championships with the likes of Olivier Beretta behind the wheel. Just was a great era for Viper in racing.
Yep. Our colleague Justin Bell drove with the Orica team at Le Mans, picked up a class victory, and a GT2 World Championship. And I'd like to make one correction. Earlier I said Cat.
Got steam coming on, right?
Can't tell.
Yeah, they had overheating
left
problems
front.
in practice.
Left front.
Sure it was coming from under the hood or
Couldn't
wheel
tell either.
well. Seemed to be coming out of those louvers, didn't it?
Looked like it was. Yeah, it is.
We're back at the sale in 6 hours of Watkins Glen here on Fox Sports 1. Ride in the number 3 Dodge Viper, 93 Dodge Viper SRT in the hands of Kuno Whitmer. He pits from the lead in GTLM, 8th overall.
Yeah, Dodge Viper SRT running 1-2 in this race, celebrating 100 years with the Dodge brand. This is a great day for those guys. Got a little bit of a balanced performance, a little bit of a weight break since the last round. Things looking good, Brian.
Looks like there will be a driver change. I talked to Jonathan Bomarito a little bit earlier, and he said the car just had a lot of understeer in the opening stint, meaning they would get down in the middle of the corner and the front end would slide. They couldn't keep the car down on the line where they wanted it. They made some adjustments with the suspension, with the tools that the drivers have in the cockpit, known as anti-sway bars. That helped stiffened up the back end of the car a little bit and gave some grip to the front, and the car is much, much better here over the last hour or so.
Yeah, I was about to say, tighten up those belts. There was a lot of gap in those belts. Well, it's Mark Goossens taking over, I believe, heading out.
You literally got to make those belts so tight you can't move. Even the smallest amount of movement's bad. It pulls away at your muscles during the race.
Not that it's unusual for drivers to pull out with some lax belts in there.
That's
they
true.
Immediately start tugging on them. Well, part of the racetrack like this, just drive with your knees while you tighten up the belts.
They're allowed to loosen. They're not supposed to unbuckle. Like when they come in, they're allowed to loosen their belts but not unbuckle them. So again, one of those gray areas everyone's trying to push it. Just a second or half a second even can make a big difference, particularly under caution. If you're all rolling down pit lane with one another, if you can just get a little bit of a jump on the competition, it can really gain you some track position. Safety, of course, is always #1 factor. Brian's with the Konica Minolta.
Max Angelelli is out. Jordan Taylor now taking over, and it should just be a routine stop for Continental Tires and Fuel. But nothing is routine today with the 4 classes on the racetrack. You guys have been talking about it all day long. It's difficult to work through traffic. You've got to be patient, and you've got to pay attention. Red means stop, and these guys head down pit lane. Max Angelelli fell afoul of the rules earlier, and now a little stall, but the 10's back underway.
Not without a brief stall, it looked like.
Yep.
Jordan Taylor back underway.
He lit it up pretty good on the second time, though.
Jordan Taylor. A bit lighter weight, Jordan Taylor, today.
Yeah, a lot lighter weight.
Well, that's right. Amidst much ballyhoo yesterday, Jordan Taylor and his famous mullet finally got a taste of the shears. He cut his hair to raise money for charity, raised over $13,000 for Camp Boggy Creek and a similar camp for young people, Camp Anoki. And this was the moment. I mean, you'd have thought the Rolling Stones were in town.
Do it, cut.
Do what?
Come on.
There's 18 months of work going down the drain.
Okay.
My eyes are watering. Well, I started growing the mullet last year in January, right after the 24-hour, just kind of as a joke, because no one believed me that I'd actually do it. And then 18 months later, here I am with a mullet. And then I decided not to just chop it off for no reason, raise money for Camp Boggy Creek and Camp Anakiji. We raised $13,500 for them. This is bigger than anything I've done. I won the championship last year and none of these guys showed up. There's tons of photographers. My eyes are watering. It's a little awkward and embarrassing, but I'm glad it's over now and I can get on with my life.
Probably to buy a new helmet a size lower.
I couldn't believe it when I went in there to watch. I mean, there were so many photographers around. I never saw a second of it.
His mum, Shelley, tweeted that she really liked it because she really wanted a girl, so at least she could play with the hair for a few months.
I had a picture of Shelley giving him pigtails and all that.
Oh, my gosh.
Braiding his hair, doing all that.
She does it to Wayne as well.
Yep. As you can see, the number 5 has pitted and heads back out.
That's why Wayne wears those girls' glasses, just because Shelley wanted.
More pit stops going on behind. Number 35 Flying Lizard Audi is in. Chrome Racing Ferrari 458 Italia is in.
And all these should be routine stops, 4 tires, fuel.
Been a relatively clean race, Dorsey. Yes, we've seen some contact, but I mean, people coming here really thought, oh boy, we had a lot of contact at Sebring when all of the 4 classes ran together the previous time, and bringing all 4 classes back together on this high-speed racetrack, the commitment level from the prototypes through the fast corners is really, really unbelievable. And when you got slower traffic in a mix with that, everyone said we could have a carnage fest here, but so far, so good.
Look at Max Angelelli. He didn't even have his haircut this weekend.
He hasn't been in the car in a while, and I guarantee you that takes its toll on you, too. He's frustrated with himself for the penalty they got for missing that red light at the end of pit lane and pit out. So, you know, it wasn't his the stint he would have liked for sure.
And I think with that, I mean, you know, everyone gets in a routine, and you think, you know, Max Angelelli has run with this team for so many years, it would be easy for him to step back in. But I think the team gets into a routine. They're not expecting to remind Jordan and Ricky, hey, look for the red light. There's an assumption there. And when you're not doing it week in, week out, even if you've just been gone for a few races, suddenly they're the little reminders that you needed. And I think Max was saying, hey, no one told me, as in the team didn't tell him. No one was at the end of pit lane pointing at a light. The light was on, and he just blew right through it. So I think there's a share of blame a little bit.
Brian?
I'm down here with Max right now, and he's okay. He's just really hot. And the thing that, before we talk to him, the thing that's important, they wear a cool suit in the car. But when Max got out, he can also hook to this cool box here so he can stay being chilled a little bit. I know it's brutal in the car right now, Max. A little bit of a frustrating run there, especially with the red light at pit out.
It is very frustrating. We will investigate, you know, the problem, and it was very tough. I mean, the heat and conditions and traffic is really difficult.
Right now, I was going to say, the traffic out there with 4 classes here, it's got to be very difficult. It's got to be hard to be patient and make sure that you make the move safely.
Yes, the problem is, the big difference is where you catch the traffic. If you get the traffic into number 2, you lose 2 seconds. That's the point. So some people get it after, lucky, some other before. It's always, you know, a balance, but it's tough.
How's the 10 car right now, handling-wise?
It's okay. It's good. We'll recover.
All right, they've got a shot. They've got a Corvette. They're looking for a checkered flag here in a few hours.
Oh, here we go.
There's
They'll
the block.
recover.
Zing.
Yeah, that's how easy it happens right there.
Yep.
I mean, that driver wasn't blocking. He was trying to react and get out of the way, and the timing was off. It's like when you meet somebody at the airport head on and you do the, I go left, no, you went left, no, I'll go right.
Shall we dance?
Yep, exactly.
You always seem to do it with a pretty girl, though, Dorsey.
I try to pick my positions.
That's called an interception. Here's another look at the move. Wow.
Yeah.
That got a little hairy for the 5.
Yeah, Christian just kept going the wrong side, as you mentioned, Dors.
You get out of sequence, and, you know, there was no ill intent there.
Well, as we saw, the number 94 GTD BMW from Turner Motorsports pitted. Fuel 4 tires. I believe Marcus Pautala stayed in the car. They run first in GTD. We'll be back. Back at Watkins Glen on board the number 60. Ford EcoBoost Riley in the hands of John Pugh, running 7th in the overall and in class as we continue to work our way through the Salem 6 hours of the Glen. Pit stop action has continued. The order continues to shuffle. There is Marcus Pautala in the yellow and blue BMW that leads the GT Daytona class despite a recent pit stop.
Yeah, car's just been awfully tough all day. We talked about the Z4 in the GTLM category. We got the Z4 configuration in GTD. Very fast in practice and qualifying throughout the weekend. Just a lot of speed through the corners. Handles great. As we said, if it gets into a shootout at the end, can they hang on? They got the lap time to achieve a good result here today, but when it comes to a shootout, the other cars just have that little bit more straightaway speed.
We're in the 4th hour. We'll go down to the pit lane now, and Brian Till.
Guys, we were talking about belts earlier and drivers having a hard time getting their belts done. This is a Hans device. This is what the driver wears on his shoulder that the helmets connect to. Here's Ricky Taylor's helmet. You can see how it connects on there, all the plumbing and the tubing. Those belts have to go up and into the channel on this Hans device. If they get caught down here, the Hans doesn't do its job. So sometimes they've got to fight to get that belt up into that channel and then get it tightened down. And that's that struggle that we see sometimes in the cockpit.
Yeah, and any little snafu like that, Brian, will really cost you dearly. These driver changes they really practice and rehearse these a lot, but it can go wrong so easily. Belt gets hung up, you're sitting on the belt, and suddenly there's panic. And if you're not smooth and calm, it just gets ugly in a hurry.
I need one of those, Brian. See if you can walk off with that one.
That's right, you're making a return to the cockpit again, right, Dors?
Going to have a little drive time coming up.
Wow. Well, the Hans devices come in all sorts of styles now.
Of course, they didn't have them when I was, they weren't mandatory back in my day. And so
developed within the last decade by...
still have black and white TV back then.
Jim Downing and his brother-in-law, Dr. Bob Hubbard, were the inventors of the Hans head and neck restraint device, now being made by Simpson Safety Products. To my mind, the Hans device is the biggest single
absolutely
safety device in racing.
There's no doubt. I'd never ever worn one until Sebring, and I didn't find it uncomfortable at all. I mean, it was just awkward for me getting in because I didn't know how it worked necessarily, but
put on backwards, I think, is a problem.
No, the helmet was backwards.
Couldn't see anything.
That's why I had a vision problem.
555 car having a great run here today. Townsend Bell.
That car's been clean all day too.
Yep.
He's Ferrari. Go ahead, Pat.
They got 3 bonus points in the Patron Endurance Cup at the halfway point, and building on that massive lead they have in the Cup standings.
I flew in with Townsend. He really enjoys driving this car.
You see the leaders at the halfway point in the Patron Endurance Cup. 5 points for first place, 4 for second, and so on. So Action Express now leads. More points to be awarded at the end of today's race, and that will complete 3 of the 4 rounds in the Cup competition. But the last one comes in the very last race of the season, so we're going to have plenty to talk about, no doubt, with season-long championships on the line, as well as the Endurance Cup.
It's going to be a crazy day.
Oh, boy. 63 is in.
Scuderia Corsa Ferrari, coming off that brilliant win at Detroit. Defending champions with Alessandro Balzan from last year.
I love these cars, these 458 Italias.
Good looking cars.
Beautiful cars.
Real orchestration with these pit stops. Only allowed a couple of guns, so you just got to get it right.
And they are choreographed for maximum efficiency.
Go, go, go.
Got a little wheel spin there. 2 wheels on the concrete, 2 on the asphalt.
It's a really nicely balanced car. They never have an issue with the fronts going off more than rears. And I think it's a really, really nice package.
Talking to Scott Elkins, who really controls all of the balance of performance with the various cars in the various classes for that matter. And you know, we talked about the fact that the Porsche got a little bit of a break this week, and he said, well, really the class in GTD is designed around the Porsche. He said all of the other cars out there are essentially GT3 spec cars from Europe, and they have a little bit more downforce, a little bit more of this and that. So they're trying to just gradually, as this season progresses, get everyone on the same level of performance. And even though a Porsche finished second at Detroit, he said, I'm not looking at positions, I'm looking at segment times, I'm looking at data, I'm looking at best laps, average laps, and they felt that the Porsche needed a bit more speed, and consequently gave it a little bit of a weight break and gave it more fuel to go on board during a stop.
Porsche certainly has dominated endurance racing over the years, but there's nothing like seeing Ferrari. Back at Watkins Glen on board the 07 Mazda Skyactiv diesel prototype in the hands of young Tristan Nunez. As we mentioned earlier, Mazda has a program using its race cars to advance science and technology education in schools, but Nunez has a personal effort underway as well on a much more life-threatening issue with which he has a personal connection. Here he is to tell you about it.
Recently, we just started our new foundation, the Don't Touch and Drive Foundation. You know, it all started with my mom. I was riding with her in the passenger seat, and she was texting and driving when I was 15 years old, and we almost got in an accident. She almost basically killed us. And from that moment forward, we decided to make a stop to that texting and driving in our family, and to go forward with it, to start a campaign. Just trying to raise awareness of the problem, because it really is such a huge issue all around the world. And we just want to spread the word, especially to my peers, the teenagers, that it is a very big problem. It's taken off pretty fast.
Well, good luck to Tristan and his foundation. It is a very serious issue.
Yeah.
A year ago, Tristan was in Detroit racing, passed up his high school prom to go advance his racing career. It's a story that had a very happy ending. Here's the number 90, Richard Westbrook, in the race-leading Corvette Daytona prototype, while we go to Brian Till.
down here at Extreme Speed Motorsports with Ed Brown. And Ed sharing the number 2 car with Anthony Lazzaro and Johannes Van Overbeek. And you guys had the problems a little bit earlier. I know the 1 has run pretty much trouble-free except for some damage. Did you find the problem with the 2, or is it just one of those electrical mysteries?
Well, our crack mechanics did what they had to do. They shook the loom really hard, the car started, and they said, let's go back out. So we're not really sure we're gonna be running at the end, but the car was good, so it's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Make you wish for carburetors and 5-speed transmissions?
Yeah, and they were a lot cheaper too.
Well, they've got it back out there. Ed's gonna get back in. He said, knowing my luck, it'll run fine right up until the time I get in it, but I'll know what to shake if we have a problem.
With all I know about electrical stuff, that's what I would have done
Yeah.
too. Just give it a good shaking.
Just rattle it around, slap on the side.
Hit it with a
Ed Brown's
hammer.
been doing a good job, though. We talked about at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca when his car was put on the pole and they gave the driving duties to him. He did a stellar job in the opening stint there. And again this weekend, they got 3 drivers to choose from. They gave Ed the opening stint, and he did a nice job again today.
That's the problem with these. The technology is so advanced that a normal mechanic, that's a lifelong mechanic, cannot work on these cars. I mean, you need an electrical engineer, you need a mechanical engineer, you need an aerodynamicist, it's beyond our ability to work with.
Gives a whole new meaning to plug and play. You got to plug in a computer to play again.
It's a fact.
Beautiful race cars, though.
Yeah, they are.
It's interesting. I mean, the technology is really so advanced and so fantastic.
Our leader, Westy, Richard Westbrook, the Englishman. The driver change here, Michael Valiente, 2-driver lineup. Remember, we talked about that. Really puts a lot of pressure on these guys to keep it clean.
It seems like Michael got out about 10 minutes ago.
I know.
Westy did a great double there.
I played golf with him the other day here at the Glen, and I was giving him grief. Remember at Mid-Ohio a couple of seasons ago, they had an exhaust problem, and I was getting fumes in the cockpit, and he bailed after 40 minutes, and I called him wussy that day. And his wife wasn't really impressed with me, but I said, how are you going to make it, mate? You can't do 40 minutes at Mid-Ohio, let alone a double stint around this place. He was not impressed.
It is very physical here. I mean, for the normal driver, can't comprehend how much strength it takes to steer these cars in these high downforce situations. Like here, you're going up this hill, you're flat out in 4th gear through there, and you're pulling about 2.5, 3 Gs. All the really fast corners here are right-handers. So what happens basically is the G-forces are always tugging you to the left. Your head becomes like 11, 12 pounds worth of weight, and it's hanging off the end of your neck. Your neck starts wearing out, and you still have to keep continuing,
With your nose, it's about 15.
Yeah, with the nose, it's even worse.
But it is, I mean, all joking aside, it's a tremendous force that's put through the body at these high-speed corners, and we didn't really think about it too much. And then in the break in the season, a lot of guys were testing at places like Watkins Glen, at Mosport, and they said, wow, they were like eyes wide open at Detroit saying, wait till we get to these racetracks, because the G-force is just unbelievable with the extra downforce that they gave to the Daytona prototypes to try and match the cornering speed of the P2s as they all merged together this year in the Tudor Championship.
When they get to Petit Le Mans down the road in Atlanta, it's going to be the same thing. That place is, it just tears your head right off your neck.
Now watch Jan Magnussen, who spent a lot of time in the number 3 Corvette today.
And he's very fit. Look at that.
He is a tough customer, yes.
You see him break there, and he's tethered in, but his neck is stretching that far already. And he's in very fit shape. I mean, he works hard at it.
I'm a little surprised we didn't see some drivers using the sort of arm sling connected to the helmet that you see.
I think because of the driver changes, they're not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff in there with the Hans device being there now.
Yeah.
And that Hans device is limiting his head movement, too, a lot. Because if he didn't have that on, you could easily double what his head's moving right now.
Martin Brundle had been tweeting with me during the break about some of the things that have been going on here today, and he's going to steal one of the lines we used earlier in the show. But I know he had a line describing G-force. He sort of said, think about driving with your granny in the back seat. Think of granny as G. And when you slide it through a corner, she slides across from the back seat and hits the side window. Well, if that's 1G, if you got 2G, 2 grannies would slide across the seat. And that's the sort of forces you're putting through the race car as you turn through these high-speed corners.
I remember driving here in the prototype, and it was really physically hard on your upper body.
Yeah.
Again, it was before the Hans device. That helps a little bit, but still.
And keep in mind, in addition to the G-forces, it is hot inside these enclosed cars.
That's 120 to 30 degrees in there, and there's not a lot of circulation. You saw earlier on with Michael Valiente, he was wearing a cool suit, and that certainly keeps your temperature down a little bit. But I'd wear a cool suit and have 109-degree skin temperature.
Yeah, right. And this is the kind of weekend when the closed cockpit guys look at these open cockpit cars and say, well, maybe that's not such a bad idea after all. Even though that is 80-degree plus air trying to take your head off.
On board here with Gustavo Jacquemin, who's the third driver in the lineup for Oak Racing here today. I'm going to take a lap here with a Nissan-powered prototype machine.
And he's attacking. We gave him the name Yak Attack. He drives very aggressively. See him flashing the lights off the panel on the back of the car.
I believe that's the Skyactiv diesel Mazda prototype up ahead. Let's take a lap. Turn up the volume. All right, you've heard the Nissan. How about a little rotate the earth Corvette V8? Again, for something different, 10-cylinder Audi.
Actually hear more of the Porsche here than you do the Audi. That Porsche is probably the loudest car out there.
And now the V10 Viper. Hope you're enjoying the ride here at the Salem 6 Hours of the Glen. We've got another break coming up, and we'll be back. Beautiful shots from a beautiful sport on a beautiful day in a beautiful place, Watkins Glen. We'll be back. Fittipaldi, Valiente, Action Express, number 5, goes 2 for 2 at Watkins Glen.
I do not think that we had the quickest car out there. We just capitalized on all the opportunities we had.
The car was good. We had some great strategy with Action Express, and just a Corvette was a really good car to drive around there.
It was very close, very intense. I definitely didn't anticipate me driving like 4 hours and something that I ended up driving.
We were in perfect position when we had to be, and Christian did an amazing job to finish the race up.
I was happy. There's no need to say that I was really happy for myself, João, for the team, and I think there was a great effort from everyone.
The last 2 years, Action Express has been atop the podium. 2 years ago, they were a 1-2 sweep. With their technical director, Gary Nelson, of NASCAR Sprint Cup fame, they have been very, very successful in endurance racing. Let's go to Brian Till.
Standing here with Bert Frizzell, who's listed in both cars. First of all, let's talk about the cars a little bit, and then I'm going to talk to you about pressure. But I noticed from the very beginning when we're looking at trap speeds and segment times here, these cars seem to be set up to run in a straight line. They've always been the fastest cars all weekend long. Have you guys really reduced a lot of the downforce out of them? And if so, are they a handful in the corners?
Well, you know, this year with the diffuser on the cars, we've gained a lot of downforce that way, so we can run a pretty trim. And the series really restricts where we can put our wings. So we like where our cars are at. They're running good. We got maybe a little too much understeer in the 9s. My brother told me it's getting better, so we just keep plugging away.
Talk about being listed in both cars. Your shoulders don't seem that broad, but obviously you're trying to help Christian Fittipaldi and João Barbosa to a championship. You've got pressure. Oh, hang on. I've got to go back to the booth. Something's going on track.
Yeah, we had contact down in turn 1, Brian. Boy, oh boy. The PC class.
Yeah, he's the leader, Ryan Lewis.
Calamity Central.
In the meantime, speaking of Christian Fittipaldi, who's leading, he just called into his pits and said, guys, I'm really hot and I'm out of water. He goes, I've been out of water for about 5 minutes and I'm in trouble.
Let's have a look here. Ryan Lewis just gets forced over on the line a little. Well, that Audi just didn't need to turn in there.
Yeah, he just took him right around.
Yeah, that's Marco Bononomi, who's a very experienced prototype driver, and he should have just given him a bit more clearance there for sure.
Now, remember last year, Christian Fittipaldi had trouble at the end of the race. He was really knackered, and
he's got trouble. Yeah, left rear problem.
Left rear going down.
I couldn't believe that Bononomi didn't see him.
Yeah, no, he was. I wouldn't. Without it being down, I'm not sure I'd be cutting through with still.
Take the cut.
Yeah, he's a little bit past it.
Too late. Stay with it.
Yeah, exactly. Now here comes Bononomi in the Audi.
Well,
he's got damage too, it looks like. So his,
it looks like his right rear is down.
Yeah, they both have flats.
If you were with us for the 24 hours.
Whoa. That is, they're not going to be happy about that.
No.
He didn't stop and have a look. He just kind of cruised on out there. That's where the long track joins that short circuit.
The responsibility is to re-enter safely.
Right.
That was pretty close.
And without impeding other competitors.
Yeah. They don't have to give way to you.
Well, we'll see what happens there. Bononomi, I was about to say, had a big accident in the 24 Hours of Le Mans very early in the race when the clouds opened.
Now, these guys will not be scored for this lap. By taking that shortcut, they're going to lose a lap, essentially. So this guy was leading the race. Ryan Lewis, the young Brit, has been drafted in as the 3rd driver. That is really unfortunate for that team, performing very well today.
One more time. Bononomi jinks a left a little bit to avoid another car, but then straightens up. Bononomi just hits him in the door.
I don't know if he thought he was just going to turn in and just misjudged that, but here's another look at it. I lay the blame at the Audi. I don't know about you, Dors.
Yeah, that was a very bizarre. The Audi, I call that Audi fault myself.
There he pulls right in front of a battle in GTLM.
May have looked, that incident there may have looked worse than it first appeared, Bob, because he was quite a ways along that curbing when the car suddenly came out there. So maybe he did take a good look and thought, yeah, I've got enough time, but it looked a bit ugly, didn't it?
I think the Audi driver was anticipating that the prototype would be clear by the time he turned in, but he drove right into him.
That was a quick fix for the 09. Just put on a new wheel and tire.
But he lost the lap.
But he did lose the lap because of taking the shortcut. And Bononomi still getting treated.
Yeah, I think he must have taken a trip across the grass, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could feed a barnyard full of animals with the grass that came out of the front bumper here, or out of the radiator. The damage seems to be more superficial on the bodywork. They taped that back down. The important thing is, on the way back in, how hot did that engine get? Because there's grass all over pit lane. Like I said, it was stuffed up in the radiators, and it doesn't take very long for these race engines. Once they get blocked off, that radiator gets blocked off before they overheat.
They could have just knocked the valve stems off both of those tires, you know, by banging like that.
Yeah. Bononomi has a lot of experience in one of these R8s. He's been running the Italian GT Championship, so even though he's coming out of prototypes, he does have good experience and great speed. I mean, he's one of the fastest guys in the world in one of these type of cars.
That was just, like I say, I think he might have been concentrating on the other prototypes. There's two prototypes to his right, you know, and I think the Audi driver just forgot the one was there and turned into it. In any event, we'll see what happens with that later down the road.
Really nice guy. Young Italian. He's really the future of Audi in their prototype ranks.
There's the number 5 of Fittipaldi, who continues to lead.
Hey, look at the grass on the front of Fittipaldi's car.
Now he's having a rough time. He's not feeling good. He's hot, and now he's had enough. Someone stuck him in the weeds, apparently.
Well, you know, when you get hot and you start calling for help, you break down mentally right then at that point.
Well, we saw at the end of the last year's 6 hour, Christian was pretty exhausted at the end of an extremely fiercely contested battle with Michael Valiante in the final hour. And they do have backup. Brazil has been listed to drive that car if they need to draft in a third driver. We'll have to wait and see. Darren?
Paul, you guys were down to the last couple hours. You had 2 cars up front. Obviously, you got hit. What happened? Is the car okay?
No, we had a flat left. Flat spotted the other tires. The guy in the Audi obviously has no peripheral vision. I'm not sure how he backed out of his hotel this morning, but he sure shouldn't have been here.
Okay, I'd say Paul's a little upset with that one, guys.
Well, as big a mystery to him as it was to us, I guess.
Yeah,
That's Paul Gentilozzi.
it was very bizarre.
Paul Gentilozzi owns the RSR team.
Tell us what you really think, Paul.
Now look at the Audi driver. He turns for the corner, not clearing the prototype.
Because Ryan went to the left a little bit to allow the Martini car through.
Yes,
but he kept it straight. There was a lot of room, more than a car width there for the Audi to maintain that line for a little bit longer.
I don't know if maybe the Audi driver wasn't looking across to the other prototype, the Martini car, to the inside. In any event, Paul's got a point.
So difficult to know when the car ahead of you either sees you or does not. Earlier when we were riding along with the 42 car, and speak of the devil, as he approached one of the Flying Lizard Audis from behind, you saw the driver use the left flasher to tell him, I see you, pass me on this side. I know you've got a big speed differential over me, so just go left and I won't contest.
Well, the call is in. They're going to bring the Audi driver in and hold him for 75 seconds for that contact in turn 1.
Well, I think that was a reasonable penalty for that contact. Here we're looking at a great battle here on board with Gustavo Jacquemin in the Oak Racing Nissan-powered number 42 machine.
Got
he
run.
is right on the tail of Valiante, who currently holds down the 2nd position.
He had a run right there, but you can see that the V8 definitely accelerates a little bit better.
These guys have had some contact earlier in the season. Remember Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, and even at Long Beach, remember, they kept hitting each other through that hairpin turn there.
And Gustavo's actually gone and had words in a kind fashion. He's gone there and say, if you continue to keep moving your car into a position not to be passed, sooner or later things are not going to come out well.
Right. And some of it is the ebb and flow of the difference in performance between these 2 prototype machines. Do you know what I mean? That this P2 car is really quick in certain spots. He's trying to take an advantage of it, and kind of the DP machine is kind of parking it a little bit in certain areas and then whistles off down the straightaway, but that's just the way they're configured in terms of balancing their lap time.
Well, earlier, Alex Brundle said, if I can just get by, our 42 Nissan Oak Racing chassis can run away. Doesn't look like it right now. We'll be back. Saturday, it's a full day of Major League Baseball action, beginning with the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Atlanta Braves on Fox Sports 1. Then it's Baseball Night in America. At Fox, as Nelson Cruz and the Orioles take on the defending World Series champ Boston Red Sox, the Giants battle the Padres, or the Rangers meet the Mets. Our MLB doubleheader begins Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1 and continues at 7 Eastern on Fox. Back at Watkins Glen, just a few minutes from the end of our 4th hour with 2 still to go in the Salem 6 hours at the Glen. I'm Bob Varsha with Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader. Brian Tills down in the pit lane, and young Mr. Marco Bonanomi in the number 46 Audi is learning every page of the Tudor United Sports Car Championship rule book. Following his stop and hold for 75 seconds for contact, he's been given a drive-through for excessive speed in the pit lane.
Won't be happy about any of that scenario you just described.
Some colorful Italian language on the radio, though.
I was going to say, he's always seemed like a very calm Italian young man, but that may be pushing his threshold a little bit.
Oh, boy.
Valiente's done a nice job here. He stretched that gap on Yackerman now to almost 2 seconds. There you see Yackerman in the background. Some of that could have been traffic whilst we were away and we're off, they were off camera, but still trying to chase down Christian Fittipaldi. They're on a very different fuel strategy. Christian pitted 11 laps earlier than Michael Valiente, so that explains some of the lead. BMW are in, and Brian is there.
The 55 is in, Oberlin is out, so he's out on the wall. It was a driver change, fuel, and 4 Michelin tires. 56 taking just a little bit longer. They were second in, and still it seemed like just a little bit of hiccup on the 56.
This is got to be a little bit disappointing for this team. They are pretty bullish after qualifying, placing their cars first and third on the grid, Bob, and just the race really hasn't gone their way. A long way to go, and they're one of the best in the business in terms of strategy, so all of the engineers, they'll be trying to work hard in terms of how they can get back into this game.
Now they'll be counting backward from the end of the race in terms of stint length based on fuel and tire usage. And I agree, they'll come up with something. We'll see if it works. Right now, prototypes run 1st through 7th. Christian Fittipaldi, Michael Valiente, Gustavo Yackerman. First GTLM cars are the the 93 Viper of Jonathan Bomarito leads. And then the Corvette of Jan Magnussen and Oliver Gavin. Though we're now told both Corvettes are in the pits. So the order in GTLM will shuffle. Colin Brown leads in PC.
Here we see one of the Corvettes in, the number 4 car. Ollie Gavin, who put in a tremendous stint there, try to chase down his teammate, Jan Magnussen. Magnussen has hopped out, so it'll be Antonio Garcia, the new daddy, is now behind the wheel of that one.
All clear.
Saw the fueler for the other car standing ahead. He had to raise the hose to let the number 4 pass beneath.
This is the stage of the race when you get down to the last couple hours. You're trying to back time the race. By that, I mean try to figure out how far you can go on fuel and try and eliminate a pit stop. Seems like these GTLM cars have been going about 55 minutes, just a little bit more. So if you look at the math there, they're not going to do it on one more stop without some help with caution. Brian's with Billy Oberlin.
Yeah, Bill just climbed out of the 55. Some days you're the windshield, some days you're the bug, and seems like the bug today. First of all, the performance of the BMW, how is it right now?
Unbelievable. It's fantastic. If we could just get our lap back, we'd be able to race in the corner. Straight line, the competition blows us away, but in the corners, the car is like a slot car. It's the best car I've ever driven.
Talk about getting your lap back. Obviously, it was lost after that penalty with the contact. I'm sure you didn't see it the way the officials did. How bad is the traffic out there right now?
Well, most of the people aren't bad. But when you catch an LMPC guy that's in the class ahead of you and he holds you up for 5 or 6 laps, get a clue. You don't belong racing with me. Just when I stick my nose in, let me by, I'll disappear. The guy's holding me up 2 seconds a lap, I can't get by. So they always will penalize us or whatever. It's a bummer. And it puts us back. This race is so clean and so professional with almost no yellows that we can't buy a break to get back.
They're looking for that lap so they can get, or a yellow so they can get that lap back. And it's been since 2004 that Bill's won here at the 6 hour. He'd like to take one home today.
What's your pit exit?
Now these guys should be looking at 2 more stops to see the checkered flag here today for fuel. Been going about 45-minute stint, so they'll need 1 more full fuel load and maybe 3/4 of a fuel load to get to the checkered flag, but all sorts of things can change the complexion of the strategy here. Yellows, little mistakes, little bobbles here and there is a long way to go.
And they pitted at the same time as the number 10 car, the Taylor brothers, with Max Angelelli.
Of course, this leapfrogs the 90 car, the Visit Florida car back to the front, driven by Michael Valiente, and Yackerman is now 2.3 seconds behind. So that gap is kind of frozen there around the 2-second mark here for the last half a dozen laps. And there he is.
There's Valiente. GTD car up ahead of him. I believe he's got a GTD behind him as well.
We talked about in Detroit the fact that Richard Westbrook and Michael Valiente, they drive the cars a little bit differently. Michael's a left foot braker, so he trails the brakes into the corner, and Richard likes to float more entry speed, and that's difficult for the engineer to really work with. But the guys, it's not as big a difference as we may have made out. I spoke to Michael about it. He said, when the car's good, we can both drive it, essentially. He said, just the way we get there sometimes, we spend a little bit of time making each other happy. But he said, this is Richard's team. I feel very privileged to be here and be supporting his championship run. So he knows his position. He's got tremendous speed. They run very similar lap times, but he's more than willing to let Richard Westbrook be the leader of this team in terms of directing the setup as well.
Top 4 cars all running on the same lap in the hands of Valiente, Yackerman, Christian Fittipaldi, and John Fogarty. Ricky Taylor and Scott Sharp also in prototypes. 1 lap down. 3 laps down is the number 60 Ford EcoBoost Riley. John Pugh now driving. Not sure how they got 3 laps behind. Well, we've mentioned the Corvettes having a good day. Let's go to Brian Till with the boss man at Corvette Racing.
Always good to chat with Doug Feehan, who's the project manager for Corvette Racing. Doug, great run at Le Mans. I know you wanted one more step on the podium, but everybody loves to see these yellow Corvettes, but they're in France, and then a couple of weeks later they're here, and they've been rebuilt by then. You guys don't just call FedEx to go pick up a package. How much work is it to get these cars over there, race them, get them rebuilt, get them back?
Literally every moment of every day upon our return, we have to dedicate to getting these things ready. I mean, it's Saturday, it's Sunday, it's a couple of shifts. It's every valuable minute that we can find we spend on this, then get them packed up and trucked out here. All the while, the other guys are here testing. So we had a huge hill to climb here today.
I think the thing that's important for people to realize, you didn't send 2 cars over there and leave 2 cars over here.
No, we did not. The cars you see racing here today are the cars that we ran at Le Mans.
Which is impressive. Having a good run here, how important would it be to walk out of here with a victory, not just because of the points in the championship, but to win the 6 hours at the Glen? It's been a long time since we've seen a Corvette here.
Well, if you look at the standings in the Endurance Championship, we're in that number 2 spot. We'd like to continue the momentum that we had at Long Beach and Laguna. Clearly, we've dominated today, but this harkens back to Elkhart Lake last year. It's going to come down to a fuel run and the cadence of the fuel stop. So although we're running at the front of the pack right now, the end of the race is going to tell the tale.
And the word that he used just a bit earlier was dedicate themselves, and that's what Corvette Racing does. That's why they get the results they get.
I think what he's talking about, the fuel run, is just in terms of whether you need that extra stop. You know what I mean? It's all about how you split up the end of this race, and you may look like you've got an advantage now, but if you've got to do one more pit stop, that's going to be huge in terms of the overall result.
Here's another team that came from Le Mans with the same car, had to rebuild it, get it across and over here. Krone Racing, of course, we're talking about the green Ferrari there.
They got that invite to Le Mans at the very last minute, and over a 2-week period, got the car shipped to Michelotto over in Italy, who handles all of the Ferrari stuff, and had the car updated to the current spec. Raced it there. In the meantime, the car came back, and Tracy Krone and Nick Johnson have been busy. Nick Johnson won 2 World Challenge events at Road America last week. They've been over in Europe testing a P2 car. Time doesn't stand still for the Krone Racing boys.
Keep in mind, he doesn't have the power of General Motors behind him.
No, that's for sure. Or near the amount of people working on the car.
Tracy.
Guys, I'll tell you one thing that surprised me. We just watched that Christian Fittipaldi stop a while ago. He stayed in the car now.
Yeah.
That surprised me. He was out of water. He said he was really, really hot. He was having a couple of issues, but he has stuck it out. He's still in the car.
Gave him a new drink bottle, apparently, but like you say, Dorsey, once you're getting overheated, it's hard to recover.
And he had such a difficult time doing that quadruple stint at the end of last year's race. So it looks like it's going to be another long day for Christian. But speaking of the Krone team, these guys know how to win these races. Back in 2005, they won the overall with a Daytona prototype. Nick Johnson driving with team owner Tracy Krone. In 06, They won driving a Ford Riley in the hands of Jörg Bergmeister and Boris Said when they were a two-car team. The 2009 short course race, the Crown Royal 200 at the Glen, which was run on the NASCAR Sprint Cup weekend, Nick Janssen and Ricardo Zonta took the victory in a Ford Lola. So they have 3 victories, 2 of them in the Salem 6 hours here at Watkins Glen. They are not to be taken lightly, even though they're up there running with the big boys in GTLM. We've got another break. We'll be back shortly. The Falken Porsche team taking their break. Here's a look back at the long history of Watkins Glen. Notice that guy with his finger in his ear, the upper left? That's our old friend and colleague David Hobbs, along with Paul Hawkins and John Wyer. Driver meeting, recognize Joe Siffert, Peter Gregg. Here's the number 6 car of Hobbs and Hawkins coming off the corner. Final corner back then, Richard Atwood. That was the Helmet turbine behind. The Hobbs car and the Helmet turbine finished 2nd and 3rd behind Jackie Ickx and Lucien Bianchi in the first race for the GT40 chassis number 1075. Why is that important? Well, that chassis became one of only 3 in history to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans in back-to-back years. In fact, they won it in the space of about 8 months when the 24 Hours was held in September rather than June. And it won the 24 Hours back-to-back with 2 different driver lineups. There you see Ickx and Bianchi. Ickx won with Jackie Oliver in 1969. Bianchi won with Pedro Rodriguez in the same chassis in 1968. Just a part of the colorful history here at Watkins Glen. The 1075 chassis is still around. We see it in vintage racing from time to time. Fabulously valuable racing car.
Helmet turbine, too, was just running a few weeks back,
yep.
Unbelievably enough. Haven't seen that car in a long, long time.
It was after the Ford Motor Company ended the GT40 project, but the folks at John Wyer Automotive said, hey, can we buy up the spares and keep racing these cars? Ford sold them to them. And with Gulf Oil sponsorship, they went on and won race after race after race with what was then considered outmoded technology.
Jim Valiente continue to lead this prototype division right now, but in the PC class, well, these boys are on a roll. They've won 3 of the first 4 races of this championship season, and they're the only ones who can win the Grand Slam. Remember, the only class that's had winners at both Daytona and Sebring is that 54 squad.
Something else to keep in mind about the GT40, I think every car in this field, including all the GTDs, has more horsepower than they did in those GT40s back in the day.
Yeah, that's true too, yeah.
On board the number 3 Corvette, leading GTLM now in the hands of Antonio Garcia.
These guys are having a spectacular run. I mean, they really are. Been flawless. I didn't expect the speed that they're showing, to be honest with you.
Car looks so good though, Dorsey. We've been on board and just looked like it's hooked up.
It is hooked up.
And these guys are going for 3 consecutive wins, which in this class of competition, that's a rare feat.
And those are very, very new cars, the C7s. Here's our GTD leader, Turner Motorsports BMW.
Led most of the day, Bob.
Yeah, that car's been running flawless too.
Marcos Baltala, I would assume, will give over to Dane Cameron as we get into the final hours of this race. There are your 4 class leaders on track. We'll be back to Watkins Glen in a moment. Gray skies over Watkins Glen International Raceway, but no sign of rain as we continue in our 5th of 6 hours at the Salem 6 Hours of the Glen here on Fox Sports 1. You're on board with the number 93 Dodge Viper SRT. Brian Till is standing by with one of the drivers.
Jonathan Bomarito just climbed out of the 93. And Jonathan, earlier in the day, we were talking about a lot of understeer. First of all, have you guys gotten that sorted out?
Yeah, we did. We had a great stint last time. Put a little bit of rear bar in the car. We've been massaging the package over the last 4 hours. We have a really good car. We feel really confident with this Viper at the end. I think Kuno's going to do another single, and then I'll single to finish.
You know, the other thing that the guys have been talking about up top is the physical nature of this racetrack, and we've been talking about it predominantly as far as prototypes go with the downforce, but you were just saying a lot of loads on you physically. Yes, it's hot in the car, but cornering load's high even in the GTLM cars.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough physically and mentally out there. A lot of traffic. We got some heat, a lot of cornering loads, long duration corners. Michelin's put out a lot of G-force, and you feel it in your body. You're working out there pretty hard. So we've kind of stuck to our strategy with single stints. As long as we go a full tank of gas, our driver change doesn't cost us any time, and we're fresher at the end.
Okay, kind of a political question here. Which one do you like better, the blue or the red and white?
Well, I think I like the red and white so far. We've been getting a great, report from the fans. Everybody loves the red and white. It's our classic look, and I think it gives us a little extra motivation. That car was pretty dominant.
Yeah, it was pretty dominant. They're hoping to get back to victory lane. They'd love to do it with that red and white Viper.
I'm with him. I like the red and white, too.
Well, it's funny how Heritage works like that. I mean, the fans associate with those cars. They were dominant. They won Le Mans. They won the championship. Why not?
Sure. Here's the number 42 that's been so much a part of the lead battle today. Gustavo Yakiman adjusting his helmet, it looks like.
Yeah, something going on there. I'm not sure if it's a drink tube or something possibly, but
he's going to stay in the car. He pitted from second.
He'll finish off a double stint here, then turn it over to Alex Brundle to try and take it to the finish, waiting on fuel.
Nice catch there on the pit wall when he pitched the drink bottle out.
It was a high toss on the drink bottle. Somebody had good arms.
I don't think they're going to do it on just one more stop. I think these guys and possibly the 90 car, which I don't think is far away from its next pit stop, will need a full service and maybe a splash. We'll have to wait and see.
Now's when you eye the clock, check your numbers, figure out which driver you want in the car at the end, and how to get them there.
See his side view lens is missing there.
Yeah. That's something the stewards don't like to see. The 54 is in. They've been a big part of the battle for the lead in the PC class. And remember, this is the only team with a shot at sweeping the Grand Slam of Daytona, Sebring, Watkins Glen, and Road Atlanta.
We got Colin Brown behind the wheel now, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him finish off the end of this race. You're allowed a maximum of 4 hours out of the 6 as a drive time for a single driver. And remember, the Pro-Am drivers, which in this race for those guys is John Bennett and James Guay, has done a tremendous job winning both Daytona and Sebring on his debut with the team. The two Silver, the two Pro-Am drivers, they have a minimum drive time of 85 minutes that they have to achieve. I'm sure they've done that now. Tom Brown, in charge of that operation, will have been looking at those calculations and allowing Colin Brown, who is super quick, as we saw in qualifying here, putting this car on the pole to try and finish this off for these guys.
He had another really great qualifying, too, because that happened really late in the session.
Yeah.
He had it early, but it was taken away from him, and he had to muster it up and go for one more run.
What's really cool is, Dorsey, they allow the qualifying driver, it doesn't have to be the starting driver, so that takes out the strategy of maybe not putting your fastest bullet in the car for qualifying. So qualifying sessions now are really sensational stuff here on the Saturdays.
Yeah, they're entertaining. I mean, if you have a timing monitor nearby and you can watch what's going on.
Oh, that's great.
It's really, really good stuff. A lot of rubber out of the back of that car just then, too.
Yeah.
This car's leading PC right now with the exchange of pit stops. Mike Hedlund, who's got a lot of time in GT machinery and not a lot of time in prototypes. So hats off to him right now. He's done a great job.
Driving with David Estella.
So many good teams in this category.
Make a good point about qualifying, though. If you're coming to a Tudor United Sports Car event at a track near you, make sure you're there for qualifying. It really is fun.
Oh, boy.
94 heads out of the pit lane.
Wow, this is bad. The car 4, the Corvette Racing Team Corvette, is going to get a stop and hold for 35 seconds for contact with someone out there on the racetrack.
For how many seconds, Doris, did you say?
I think you said 30.
35.
35.
Okay, well, that's not what we've been seeing 75, so maybe it was a minor contact or an adjustment of penalty here. Here we see Dane Cameron jumping in. He'll probably take this Z4 to the checkered flag here today. Been dominating throughout this race, have a nice lead. And with an hour and 40 on the clock, they should do it on one more start from this point in the race. These GTD cars get a little bit better fuel mileage than some of the other classes.
Apparently this penalty on the number 4 Corvette is something that's been under review for quite a while now.
Actually, that stop and hold for the 4 car, we understand, will be for 70 seconds.
70.
Because at 35 was the car he hit, which was one of the Flying Lizard Audis.
Gotcha.
Or allegedly hit.
Makes more sense. There's a standard penalty they seem to use.
I don't know about allegedly. He's going to be hung for it. So
well, that's just putting my lawyer hat back on.
I know. Yeah.
You're innocent until you're penalized.
Yeah, exactly. Which is about to have happen.
Boy, these guys are having a good run today from Turner Motorsports.
Yeah, that car has been flawed. That's another team that's done a great job. It's just been running like
amazing what you can do when you stay out of trouble.
Hats off to Paul Dalla Lana. He was expected to be as one of the co-drivers of this car. He's got busy with his business. He's also running with the Aston Martin squad over in the WEC, ran at Le Mans a couple of weeks ago, and he is supporting Will Turner. He made a commitment to the team and to Dane Cameron, the lead driver here for the season, and even though he's not co-driving the car, he is still supporting it with the Northwest banner on the side there, so hats off to him.
Sports car racing wouldn't exist without the support of private enthusiasts with resources.
This is going to be critical. Hour 38, you split, that's a 49-minute stint they'll need to do, and I don't think they can do it without saving a lot of fuel. Be critical to see if they need a splash of fuel at the end of this race. Darren?
The Visit Florida car is coming in. They're doing a full set of Continental tires, a full load of fuel, and Valiente is going to stay in the car for this stint. They're going to put Westbrook in at the end of the race and give him one more run. And I asked Troy Fliss, can you guys make it on one more stop? All he did was smile and cross his fingers and stare at me. So I'm hoping they're going to make it. The only thing I also see here is the back deck is pulled apart from the rear engine cover. So there's some damage. Hopefully it doesn't.
Well, if they go on to win the race, everybody will be pulling bits off the back of their race cars. As you may know, back in June, or June 5th, I should say, we lost a giant in the sport of sports car racing when John Bishop passed away at the age of 87. He had a glittering career as a motorsports executive, including a long stint as executive director of the Sports Car Club of America, where he essentially created SCCA Pro Racing and great series like the U.S. Road Racing Championship, the Can-Am, Formula 5000, and the Trans Am. He was a co-founder and longtime chairman of the International Motor Racing Research Center down in Watkins Glen, which should be on the visit list of every true racing fan, and a co-founder of IMSA, sanctioning body for the Tudor United Sports Car Championship. Before that, the glory days of the Camel GT. He was a great man. We'd like to take this moment for a look back at the legacy of a man who did it because he loved it.
John and my father and brother Bill got IMSA started. John was absolutely a class gentleman, very well respected, not just in sports car racing, but in all of motorsports, with a global reputation and just a wonderful person.
I think that anybody in our business who isn't a basic race fan is in the wrong business. If you don't enjoy the spectacle you're putting on, then it's just like doing any other job for a living that you don't particularly like.
Next Sunday, two legends step into the octagon as number 2 ranked Frankie Edgar takes on BJ Penn in the epic Ultimate Fighter finale live from Las Vegas. Coverage begins with the pre-fight show at 6:30 p.m. Eastern as part of Red, White, and Fight Week on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Back live at Watkins Glen, there's your overall and prototype class race leader, Christian Fittipaldi, and the number 5 from Action Express, keeping alive that three-peat, which would be a pretty extraordinary achievement. Winning the Salem 6 Hours of the Glen 3 consecutive years. There's the number 90, Michael Valiente, the Visit Florida.com.
19 seconds behind right now, Bob. There you can see his last lap, which included some traffic. The car's been really quick, and it's going to be fascinating to see how this fuel strategy plays out. If they get a yellow, they'll be able to do it on one more stop. Without a yellow, as Troy Fliss explained to Darren, they're really cutting it close.
Been pretty caution-free, too. We've only had 2.
Yeah, one of the drivers was complaining about that earlier. It's so hard to make up ground without the help of a yellow flag. There's the familiar face of John Fogerty, one of the great qualifiers in Tudor United Sports Car Championship competition. He's been kind of out of work since the Gainsco team closed up shop after that wicked crash at the Rolex 24 at Daytona.
And that's a man who can get the job done. His qualifying performances over the years have just been sensational. That was the record for most poles in DP competition.
So Gustavo Yakiman on the 42, on board now with Ricky Taylor, Jordan's brother, both Wayne Taylor's sons, in the number 10, sharing with Max the Axe Angelelli this weekend. Sixth place, Scott Sharp. Oh, excuse me, here's the 0-1 from Ganassi Racing. Sage Karam, third driver added to this team, a terrific young talent. And another guy who missed his senior prom. Of course, he was busy racing in IndyCar.
That's a good excuse.
Yeah, well, the team threw him a prom party in the garage at Indianapolis. They brought in his girlfriend, dressed her up in her prom dress. They made them the king and queen of the prom at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
I think he dates Jill DeFerrin's young daughter, I
yes,
believe.
he does. A terrific singer.
That's right.
That's a match made in heaven.
Scott Sharp there in the number one ESM Patron-sponsored car. Not the smoothest of runs. I really felt we've seen the speed of the 42 car, the P2 machinery around here this weekend. I thought the ESM boys would be more of a factor. Just didn't seem to hit the sweet spot of the track and the race car this weekend, the combination.
Here's Oz Negri I talked to yesterday. They just weren't happy with the car. They, normally they run really well here at this track, and they just haven't nailed it down. They cannot get the car to quit understeering.
Those 7 cars you just saw, minus the 01, are running in the top 7 positions in the race. Here's the 31 Whelen car. Boris Said started the car. He's now at the controls once again. He runs 18th in the race and 8th in class, 6 laps behind the race leader. Here's Joel Miller in the Mazda Sky Active diesel prototype.
This car's soldiering on, gathering data.
So there you have it in the prototype class. We're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we'll check out another class as they continue their run deep into the 5th hour of the Salem 6 Hours of the Glen. Back live at Watkins Glen, time to check out the Prototype Challenge class at the Salem 6 Hours of the Glen. PC is a cost-controlled spec class, meaning all the cars have the same chassis, engines, tires, and so forth. There are the class leaders, heck, the class dominators thus far in 2014. Colin Brown for Core Autosport.
Battle on the hand. They got about a 20-second lead right now, but the guy behind them, John Martin, is doing a great job in the Starworks number 7, drafted in for this weekend. He's a young driver that we didn't know much about, and here we see him right now. Finished on the podium with Action Express in the overall rankings with a prototype car at Daytona. So a lot of talent behind that wheel, chasing down the leader right now.
There's a look at John Martin. Prototypes, GTD cars, PC, GTLM, all racing together here. And you see 3 of the 4 classes in the picture there.
Core Autosport, though, in really good shape. Colin Brown has a lot more fuel on board than does John Martin, so it looks like everything's stacked their way, but long way to go.
Coming up out of the boot, headed for turn number 10. And out from behind the Dempsey Racing Porsche peaks the 08 of Alex Tagliani.
Wow, and boy, oh boy, that was a massive incident that he had in that corner he just went through yesterday when he got wide, spun the car around, tried to basically do a burnout to spin the car around. The car hooked up straight into the traffic and took out Chris Miller.
Eerily reminiscent of the heavy crash that Tagliani suffered when he collided with another car that pulled on track in front of him during the 12 Hours of Sebring.
Tagliani certainly one of the most versatile drivers, ran a nationwide race, the great effect for Ganassi Racing last week at Road America. Finishing second there, nearly won the event, just a great drive.
4th in class, the Lone Ranger, Ranger Bandazanda.
I love it. I love that car. I love the way that
love it.
They've come up with the...
Yeah. I think the Williams Formula 1 car should look more like this instead of the
it
little
needs more
itty-bitty
color.
stripes.
Yeah, it needs the big stripes. I agree.
Big, wide, red and blue martini stripes.
But that car just looks European. It looks really good. Runs good.
Okay, marketing test. Who knows what Martini and Rossi makes?
I think I do.
Vermouth.
Vermouth, yeah. I knew it was
a drinks company, as the Brits would say. Yep. 5th in class.
I was going to say it was a wine, but it's a vermouth.
Headshot looks like Frankie had an office job at one time.
Really? Wow.
Oh, that's tight. That's really tight there.
Woo! It's the Chrome Racing Ferrari right across the bows of Frankie.
And Frankie saw it coming and got on the brake pedal, which was real smart.
And keep in mind, all of these PC cars are basically on the same lap. Checking out the 38 now, David Ostella, lap 143. Well, the class leader has crossed start-finish, so he's on a lap of his own, is Colin Brown for a moment, but all of these guys close behind. This battle could go all the way to the end of the 6 hours.
Yeah, this guy was leading just a few minutes ago, so just the rotation of pit stops here is changing the class positions rapidly.
Which is
great
why
performance by these guys.
Pit stop strategy is so important.
Yeah, particularly now.
Little tire rub when he gets up on the curbs, and you see the
Krone car,
going straight through the chicane, which you're allowed to do. You have to come to a complete stop, but you're allowed to re-enter safely.
Here's Plowie, Martin Plowman.
Yep. Former Le Mans winner in class.
Won the Indy 500 this year with AJ Foyt Racing. Really nice young man. A lot of talent.
7th in class. He too on a lap with his rivals. There's the 85, Steven Simpson. He is running several laps down to the other cars in class. But we still have a long way to go. Just over an hour and 21 minutes remaining at the Glen. Back live at Watkins Glen. When you look in this direction, heading up through the S's to the backstretch, the skies are blue and lovely, but behind these race cars, 180 degrees toward the south, dark clouds are looming with an hour, 18 minutes and change remaining in the Salem 6 hours of the Glen. Will the rain come? If it does, when? And what effect will it have? Checking the GTLM running order. On board, the number 3, leading the GTLM category in the hands of new father Antonio Garcia. I wonder if he's named this chassis Maria after his young daughter. That's what I'd have done.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Remember, these are brand new C7R race cars. New this year, new to Le Mans, where they finished 2nd and 4th in the category.
Looking at timing and scoring, Bob, and Milner's showing just 22 seconds back. Remember, they were assessed a penalty. I don't think they could have served that penalty. We haven't seen it. Doesn't mean it didn't take place, but I don't think any way they could have served that penalty and be this close. We'll have to wait and see.
Notice that right side door numeral is gone. I don't know if it's again or what, but it's not there. And that was an issue earlier. Dropping back to the number 3 position in GTLM, Mark Goossens in the Dodge Viper SRT.
Hearing that a penalty on that 4-car, Bob, is still under investigation. So there was some discussion about the 4-car getting
about
penalty.
Contact with the other car.
And, they haven't served it, and it's still under investigation. So the longer it goes, the harder it is to crawl back from that penalty. Let's take a look. Here it is. Oh man, there's no way that was the Corvette's fault.
Now the Audi turned across right in them.
Yeah. There was plenty of room there.
There was plenty of room on both sides of both cars.
Yeah, I mean, you could say, okay, the Corvette could have gone to the apex a little bit earlier to make it easier, but I don't think that should
Depending
warrant a
upon what
penalty.
speed he was at, he might not have been able to.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, so that penalty is in abeyance for the moment, and it's been some time since the incident. 5th in GTLM, the BMW Z4 factory car from Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing, the hands of Dirk Mueller. I'm sure Bobby Rahal and the team are looking in from Houston, Texas, where Bobby was the Grand Marshal for the IndyCar race doubleheader this weekend.
John Edwards is going to finish off the drive here for this car, and I think they were looking for more than this today. Top 5 right now, but I know that both BMWs were thinking of podium, if not better, today.
Different horses for different courses. I mean, they are lame duck at the top end of 3 straightaways here.
Pierre Caffer been doing a great job since he was drafted in by Giuseppe Risi. Remember, Dane Cameron filled in after Malicelli basically was benched after the incident at Sebring. Dane did a good job, but he was contracted to Turner Motorsports, so he couldn't take the full-time deal. They brought in Caffer, and he did a great job at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, sitting on the podium with he and Fisichella.
All those top 6 GTLM cars basically running within a lap and small change of each other. Who's the number? Is that the 911?
No, it's the 912.
That's a 912,
yeah,
sorry.
And there's 911.
8th in class. Patrick Poulet. Well, he too is in that group, all running on basically the same lap now that he's crossed start-finish.
Same strategies. And the one you were talking about, the 911, is on this side of the track.
To overtake the GTD Audi. This is where the incident between the Corvette and the Flying Lizard Audi happened earlier. Nice and clean there. So there's your running through the top 8 in GTLM. There's the dark clouds I was talking about earlier. Are they headed toward us? We'll find out soon.
Hey, Rick.
Welcome back to the Salem 6 Hours of the Glen. From Watkins Glen with 1 hour, 11 minutes and change remaining in baseball parlance, it's time to get your closer up and warming up as they get set to go. Christina Nielsen just brought in the number 30 Momo Porsche GTD car to hand over to Kuba Gurmaziak, we believe. Super Cup star at Monaco this year. He will take him to the finish. There's Dane Cameron in relief of Marcus Patala in the Turner Motorsport BMW.
And another time,
Pro car is still in the chicane runoff.
Is it still or is it back?
Well, or is it back? Yeah, good question.
I think it's back.
I think it's running out of brakes or something.
It looks like maybe some smoke at the back of it. Is that right?
Now he's rolling. Well, I thought he was.
Well, I think he's waiting for the way through. This Townsend Bell currently running second, about 18 seconds behind the leader, Dane Cameron, right now. Another big points day potentially for our championship leaders here.
Townsend had such a terrific run at the Indy 500 this year until a late crash with about 10 laps to go.
I flew in with him. He's still sore from that very crash.
Oh boy, banged his knees.
His back and his knees both.
A lot of these guys have got their finishes in. Dane Cameron's going to finish off in the 94 car. Townsend, we understand, is going to stick it in till the checkered flag. Andy Lally—he's got that big blister on his foot, as Dorsey mentioned earlier in the race, from the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge race yesterday, where he had overheating issue on the floorboard in the Stevenson Camaro. Hung tough, but gotta wonder how he's feeling right now.
There's the 27 from Dempsey Racing, Andrew Davis, currently at the keyboard, sharing with Patrick Dempsey.
Great
and
drive
Joe
for
Foster.
these guys.
Yeah.
Really, really strong run here today. Two-car team now. They got Jan Halen and Snow in the other car.
That's right, Martin Snow, another terrific young rising sports car driver. Behind the 27 is the number 62 Ferrari. There's the 63.
It's Balzan.
Yep.
Won the Rolex GT Championship last year, coming off a victory at Detroit, so they're starting to find their stride with their Ferrari.
Goes defensive there on the Mazda. He didn't want that to get by in front of him. And
well, I think the important thing, what they try to do, is to kind of show what their intent is. You don't want the other guy to kind of get misled.
No, I agree. Telegraph what your move's going to be.
There's Gurmaziak in the number 30 Momo car.
Strong run for these guys here today. Christina Nielsen did a nice job. Kuba is a stud in one of these Porsches.
Yeah. A pretty fun guy, too. Easy to talk to. Part of the international cadre of Porsche drivers. They just pop up everywhere. So many opportunities with all the various one-make Porsche championships around the world, including here at Watkins Glen, where the GT3 American Porsche competition produced two terrific finishes this weekend, and a new star and a kid named Colin Thompson. Remember the name?
Yeah, used to run Atlantics against his father, John Thompson, and he's been a keen supporter of his son's career. Hearing great things about his abilities.
Great races yesterday, both of them, actually.
Yep. 2 last lap passes. There's the number 46 Fall Line car that got in a couple of awkward situations earlier. Currently 10th in class.
Yeah, they're fighting their way back from penalties and problems on track.
So there you have it in GT Daytona. So we are now down to 67.5 minutes remaining at Watkins Glen. Stay with us. He's passing everywhere. Welcome back to Watkins Glen, live here on Fox Sports 1. We're watching Gustavo Jacquemin in the number 42 Oak Racing Nissan, who has just been fascinating to watch. He is passing cars. Yes, he has a speed advantage, but he is passing cars everywhere.
He's just taken the overall lead from the race in this very corner. 1 lap ago from Michael Valiante. The Yak is on max attack, Dorsey.
Yeah, he is. And he's been told to keep pushing, get all you can get.
This was our 12th overall lead change among 5 cars.
Oh, look at that. Nice. Michael thought about blocking. It was too late. He was already at the position. That was close.
Gustavo had to watch his hands on the wheel here. He had to get into the brakes really deep.
Watch there. Can't quite see a little jink there because Michael was coming over on him, but didn't make it soon enough.
But this is where it really got fun when he started catching back markers. He was told to go maximum attack. Get all the speed you can get by these cars.
He's got less fuel on board, so they don't have the fuel advantage that the 90 has, but the 90 car could be in trouble too. Oh, that was wide.
Yeah,
that was really wide. And oh boy, that was a little react there. He
Yeah,
wasn't
was.
happy. That was car language as you're looking at there.
That's exactly what that was.
Now that's a full-blooded prototype passing a PC car. But that's what we're talking about. Yakiman is just, look at him going around
the
people,
outside.
inside, outside.
Well, they told him.
Really talented, Dorsey, but he's in the lead of this motor race. Don't be messing around. Okay, someone kind of screwed you over there, but don't start trying to clobber him going down these straightaways.
No, you don't want to hurt the car. I mean, you got to keep the thing on attack, but do not hurt the car. Also hearing some debris on the race course, big debris up in turn 9. We'll see when we get there.
Meanwhile, the battle in GTD is
that could
between
bring actually a caution.
Dane Cameron of the BMW over Townsend Bell in the Ferrari. Bell's co-driver is standing by.
Bill Sweedler shares that Ferrari with Townsend Bell. They're sitting where they want to sit in the championship. And right now, Bill, you guys are in a good spot because the guys right behind you in the championship having a pretty hard day. The question is, does Townsend have anything for Dane Cameron in that BMW?
Yeah, it's been a dogfight here at the Glen. Townsend's working really hard right now. He's trying to make it up. We'll see what happens on the next pit stop. Fingers crossed. We're trying to manage points in the championship, the Tudor Championship, and the Patron North American Championship. So fingers crossed, as I said.
Fingers crossed. He's working down hard here, guys. He just finished an ice cream cone, and he kind of did a Ricky Bobby on me. He took my microphone away.
You lost control, Brian.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Look at Gustavo Yakiman.
Still
outside run again. That's where he almost got put off last lap.
Yeah, this driver sees him, gives him a bit more room. He is absolutely on it. He's putting everything on the line here, trying to gap the 90 car as best he can. He's going to have to hit pit lane shortly. There's the 90 car, Valiante. And that extra downforce from the P2 car will allow you to take a few more risks, Dorsey, going around the outside of some of this slower traffic.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he does got more max grip. I mean, he's wanting a caution right now. That would save him. That debris out there we saw is right in the middle of the racetrack. You know he'd be hollering.
And now we understand the Corvette number 4 is going to get a stop-and-go penalty on board right now.
Well, maybe that's going to be the penalty, not a stop-and-go plus a hold. Maybe just a stop-and-go.
I would accept that, maybe. You know, we're hearing it's for the contract with the 35.
And
getting a penalty. We're getting a penalty. We got to stop and go. Stop and go. I need you to come in, go down to the box, stop, and then we can go.
Well, I hate to put myself in this position. I don't agree with the call, but I do agree with the fact that it's not as severe a penalty. The crime doesn't always fit the same penalty in my book. So they're saying, listen, you're at fault. We're not going to give you a stop and hold by 75 and kill your race, but there's a stop and hold, and this will cost them about 20 seconds. So it's not going to take them off the podium maybe, but it's going to ruin their chances of victory, I feel, today.
Let's take another look at the incident between the 4 and the 35 Audi.
I mean,
I think the Audi turns in myself. I mean, the way it
was
looks.
going to run out of road pretty quickly if the Corvette didn't turn in. So he's a little bit in no man's land. And I think what they're saying to Ollie Gavin is you should have played a little bit fairer with him and given him a bit more room. By you turning in earlier would allow the Audi to get through the corner.
Oliver Gavin was on the driving strength at Le Mans. Meanwhile, Darren Law is standing by with the driver who stood atop the podium at the Nürburgring 24 hours a week after Le Mans.
Christopher, this being the first time here at Watkins Glen, we'd like to know what you think about this track and what your favorite parts of it are.
First of all, I'm really happy to be here, and it's a really great track. I love it. it has so much fast corners, which is also very good for our Audi R8. So it's fun to be here, and it's a really tough race.
Now, what about, we know you won the 24-hour at Nürburgring. I mean, that had to be a phenomenal race. We know how hard it is, traffic, length of track. Tell us a little about that event for the people in the U.S. that don't know of it.
I mean, Nürburgring is a really special race. We're such a fast cars, like the GT3 cars, and we have slower cars, and everything together is quite a difficult mix to manage on track. But at the end, you have to stay calm, on a good pace. And the atmosphere there, for example, is awesome. When you drive around the track, you have all the barbecue and you see the fireworks. It's amazing. I mean, one time everybody should be there just to have a watch. But also I joined the racing like here at the Watkins Glen.
Congratulations, and we wish you the best of luck.
The awesome Nürburgring, another of the world's great racetracks with a 14-mile, 175-corner loop and a massive field of cars. Time for a 30-second break and a special message from Audi. We'll be back. Ferrari's in for the last time.
That's it.
Go, 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 go.
57. That's going to be cutting close.
The 94 needs to come to cover that, because if there's a yellow, they're going to get you know what.
Yeah.
And with that debris on the track,
yeah, it could happen.
They could use that as a reason. So 94 needs to come.
Of course, everybody's seen it now, presumably, except the new guys when they. Back with the Yak Attack at the Salem 6 Hours of the Glen from Watkins Glen, New York. Great hour in store to bring this classic sports car enduro to its conclusion. Round 3. Box, box, box. In comes race leader Gustavo Yacamán.
Look at him. He's trying to loosen his belt before he even finished off the lap. That's the intensity here, just trying to gain those vital few tenths.
Driver change? Yes. Driver change.
They will do a driver change.
I would assume it's going to be Alex Brundle jumping back in here with the pace he showed at the beginning of this race.
Yep.
He'll be licking his chops.
That's his helmet.
And look how fast he gets out. I mean, a very athletic young man, both of them.
Brian Till.
Well, that is the nice thing, Dorsey, about this open cockpit prototype, that one driver can step out of one side of the car while the other one's getting in. You cannot do that in one of the enclosed cars like a Daytona prototype, so it makes that driver change just a little bit quicker. Crew going to work, 4 Continental tires, and a load of fuel. Once again, the car looks exceptionally clean. Just a little damage on the front splitter, and Alex Brundle will have to plug his radio in as he heads out of pit lane. I noticed it was still attached to the top of his helmet via that piece of Velcro.
Well, that seemed really quick, didn't it? I mean, they really got in and out in a hurry.
There's the radio, Court. He found
got it.
The helmet color, very reminiscent of Father Martin's. We know Martin is looking in from his home in England. Very proud of his son, rightly so.
He tweeted me and said, I know what those DPs are all about, when he's looking at the battle between his son and the 90 machine earlier on. He said they're pretty robust machines. Not like the ballet dress aerodynamics of a P2 car, as he put it in the tweet, which I liked.
Ballet dress, otherwise known as a tutu.
He was over at Le Mans supporting Alex there, and really impressed with his son's performance over at Le Mans, as he should be. PC leader is in.
Colin Brown stays behind the wheel. There you see the driver lineup. James Gouet and team owner John Bennett taking part. John Bennett owns a composites business in Rock Hill, South Carolina, not far from Charlotte, where he does a ton of work for the NASCAR teams. Now, the Yak Attack has shown us what he is capable of at full chat. Let's hear from him now with Brian.
It was an impressive drive indeed, Bob, and I wish I was young and in shape. I mean, he's not even sweating, and that was quite a stint that you had out there, Gustavo. I mean, especially in the ladder going there, you seem to get a little frustrated with traffic. Is it difficult out there to try to keep your cool, keep that car up in front?
Yeah, you know, you got to be careful with motorsports. Sometimes you get very emotional, but you got to keep the emotion out of it, especially when you're on track. You know, the GTs weren't helping. There was especially a Porsche car that was definitely not being friendly to me. But, you know, you got to keep your cool, you got to focus. You know, then at the end, our car is running really, really well right now. Alex is in for the final few laps, and I think we have a really strong car for the finish. You know, I just want to thank Nissan, Morgan, you know, these guys at Oak Racing. They prepared a mega car. They stayed last night until 2 a.m. getting the car ready for the race. The Continental tires, the tires have been great all weekend long. They've really been working very well on the high bank corners. And, you know, I'm just stoked. I had a good drive. Didn't make many mistakes. There's still a few things we can improve, but hey, you know, we got to keep going, and looks good for the finish.
Yeah, impressive run from the time they unloaded off the truck. Best of luck.
Gustavo's got a 1-year-old yellow lab puppy, and he says he works out with the dog. He goes, but I got nothing for the dog. He goes, I can't wear him out.
We spoke with Gustavo's father in Detroit. Big audience watching in Columbia following Gustavo's exploits. See the Viper in the pits. Here comes the number 3 Corvette.
Talk about momentum, Bob. 2 wins in a row in the championship, going for 3 and have the lead right now in the final hour.
91 making its way back out. Finger on the button.
Still a lot of brake smoke and stuff in the cockpit. You see that. You come in on those you come in this pit stop, and all that brake dust and stuff comes out, and these closed cockpit cars, it gets in there. You're breathing all that stuff. Sure, it's not good for you, but it's just part of the deal.
It is going to get hot and heavy here in this final hour. They've got their fastest bullets in the gun. You can assure everyone of that. Whoever's shown the most pace in this race, they will be behind the wheel right now.
It looks like everybody's going to be pretty good on time fuel for this last stop. This car's due in the next couple laps too, though.
Yeah, it's close. I mean, we talked about can they stretch their fuel margin. They're going to have to perform a miracle to do it.
They were talking about doing 5 laps. It's been about 2 laps ago. So in the next 3 laps, I would expect this car in.
They basically need to go about another 12 minutes if they're not going to need 2 more pit stops today. But again, a caution, we see that debris there on the racetrack sitting there for several laps now. They need it after they pit.
I'm not worried about that debris as far as the car goes, but when you look at these PC cars with those open cockpits, that piece of debris thrown up in your face would be substantial damage.
Past the pit entry.
He's staying out. I think he may have a couple more laps of fuel at least. But
they were going to try to get 5 out of it. 5 laps, that is. That would give him 2 more after this.
He pitted with an hour and 38 to go. So he's 47 minutes into this run. 3 more laps that we're hearing.
Yeah, they're going to try 3 laps.
Oh, boy. Rolling the dice with 50 minutes to go. So Michael Valiente continues on his way. Second place is João Barbosa in the Action Express Corvette DP, looking for the 3-peat.
Welcome back to Watkins Glen. The 90 car is in. Visit from Florida. These guys are on their final stop. Driver change. Westbrook is going to get in, and like you guys have been talking about, he's been sitting. He looks fresh. He's been hydrated. He's ready to go to run to the finish. Again, talking with Troy Fliss, they're still crossing their fingers. They went as far as they could on that last tank of fuel, and they're hoping they're within minutes of making it to the finish here. Let's hope they can get there.
I tell you what, Darren, I think they're going to do it. If they can get the same mileage on this final stint, it's going to be close. It's going to come down to that last lap.
Go.
The wheel turning there, the rear wheel's turning. Westy had it in gear ready to go without his foot on the brake, but they just did about a 49, 50-minute stint there. They left the pit lane at about an hour 37, and now they've got 47 minutes to run. I cannot believe it. It looks like they may have stretched their fuel enough. It's going to be awfully tight. They could be on reserve as they look for the checkered flag here today.
They pulled that fuel hose at 47.30, Calvin. That's how far he's going to have to go.
They thought they could get another couple of laps out of the previous tank, but then Michael Valiente called in to say he had hit the reserve with a half lap remaining. They told him to dive in immediately, and now here we go. Westbrook behind the wheel. There's João Barbosa, the number 5. There's Valiente.
He's whooped. He is tired.
That was an awesome job. These boys want it so badly. Westbrook and Garcia had 3 victories back in 2012. They went winless last year, and right now
really
they're looking for their first victory of the season.
That going winless wears on you too. I mean,
Barbosa's in.
Yep, this makes sense.
Everyone has to respond. Once the leaders have hit their pit window, you have to respond, because if there's a caution, pit lane is closed, and you just lose a whole amount of track time. So these guys need to come.
Yeah, they all have their hands forced now.
This is the tricky one, because these guys, I don't think, can stretch it. Do they respond and take a splash now, or do they hope for yellow? Brian.
Well, all the dominoes are being played. You knew that the 5 would come right after we saw the 90. Now there's a car in the wall onto the front straightaway. It's the 57 Krone Racing Ferrari. They'll get the service done. Barbosa was calling for a fresh drink bottle, and they'll get him back on track as quickly as they can. The race could depend on it.
Just going to make a caution, Calvin.
Yeah, we got to have a full course caution, I would think.
And just think about it. That's exactly why the 5 car had to come. If they hadn't come then, we'll have to wait and see if this 57 car can get moving. They'll wait. They'll give him a little bit of time to see if he can get that car moving again. They don't want to throw a yellow unless they have to.
If he can fire that car, it'll drive off, I'm sure, but whether it will fire or not is a different story.
Look at pit lane. Everyone's going to come. Everyone's going to come. If they need to come for fuel, they're going to come now.
Here's what happened. The 57 turns in on that PC car.
Just didn't have a clue he was there again.
And that's the 42 of Alex Brundle.
Yeah, he's right there. There's Steven Simpson behind the wheel of the 85 machine.
The prototype car did a great job of getting in the pits after he got in contact there. Tracy just did not know that guy was down there. Turned right down on top of him.
42 car just took the lead of the race, but they need fuel unless there's a yellow and enough yellow to save them some fuel.
Well, that's what I was about to say. If they do throw a full course caution, you can look at it the other way. The 42 can cruise slowly enough, but can they save enough fuel to prevent another pit stop?
I can't tell if here, watch this now. That car's totally alongside. And he did what you talked about, Calvin. At the last minute, he tried to get out of it.
Yeah, it just makes it worse in terms of what the result is, in terms you're going to turn the car for sure rather than just banging off the side of it.
On board with Alex. Still green.
I can't tell if Tracy's trying to fire that car up or
he's
there
gone.
he goes.
He's gone.
There he goes. He's
So
good.
there will be no full course caution. And now these guys have a decision to make.
That's bad news for Alex Brundle right now. He's going to need some help.
And Tracy gets back on pit lane off that.
This side of the car looks undamaged, but it was the right side that was up in the tires.
I don't know if it hurt it that much. It took the whole brunt of the load across the side of the car. So they'll look it over and send him on his way, I'm sure.
Right now, Richard Westbrook is 22 seconds behind the 42 car. It's about a 15 to 20 second delta coming down pit lane, and they'd need a splash of fuel. So that would be neck and neck if they decide to come, or do they roll the dice a little bit longer?
And Alex just put it through there a ton.
I think they'll wait. I think they're going to wait, because if they get a yellow, they would be safe. So why not just play it out a little bit further?
Let's get down to Darren Law.
Brian, you guys are having a great run today. You're in a really interesting situation in this class because you are the only tire that's a non-Michelin, Falken tires. How do they hold up, and what's the difference? What kind of challenges do you face with that?
We've been strong today, but we've had a lot of challenges with the changing track temps. So the Falken guys have really had to be on top of that. We've had to, evaluate our tires throughout the race and try and shorten stints or lengthen stints depending on what the track temperature is doing. But it's been okay for us so far.
All right, guys, back to you.
Boy, Brundle really driving this car hard right now, trying to get an advantage, Calvin. I see it twitching at the back end. Really pushing their limits here.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting with Westy, what they're telling me on fuel mileage, whether he has to save a little bit to be sure that they don't need a splash. I think Brundle just on full attack. He's not going to make it without a yellow. So why not just burn the fuel? If you're going to come, it doesn't hurt to stop for an extra second or two.
From on board, Alex Brundle's number 42 is the Krone incident up ahead.
That was close. Just good reaction. Just really smart move there to stay out of it.
Yeah, Alex got the good view on that one.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of luck, but he was pretty cool. Didn't lock a tire, didn't flat spot a tire.
Right, he was calm enough not to overreact and throw himself in a spin.
You know, what he did there is he let that spin and wreck play out in front of him. He stayed on the brakes just enough to be outside of it, but he had to wait for everybody else to react before he could do what he had to do.
And he is flying now, is the young Brit. We've got another break coming up. No sign of any rain on a hazy but beautiful day at Watkins Glen. The minutes continue to tick away. This leader, who may yet need a pit stop for a splash, before the end of this race. Meanwhile, just 26 seconds behind him is Richard Westbrook in second place.
And I think what they're doing with Brundle is just say, go on max attack. They're going to roll the dice. If they get a yellow, they'll be good on fuel. If not, stretch the lead as far as you can. So if you have to hit pit road, you may be able to keep that track position.
Yeah, that's why he's driving so incredibly hard right now. It's the only way they've got. They need a yellow, but they might not get it.
It's the right strategy call.
Yeah, they have no way to go but fast right now.
There you see the standings in the Prototype Challenge, and there is the class leader, Colin Brown, in the number 54 Core Autosports car, who has about a lap advantage over the second place car of John Martin.
He'll need another pit stop. These PC cars go about 44 minutes, is what his team manager Tom Brown told me last night.
Just behind him is the bright yellow Corvette, leader in the GT Le Mans class. We go on board the number 3 with Antonio Garcia.
You know, they're telling Richard Westbrook that he's got to go to do the same thing, attack, go as fast as you can, make him burn his fuel off, or run him down.
Yeah, but they got to be careful, Dorsey. Remember, they're marginal, so Westy can't push too hard. He's got to be sure that he doesn't push hard and keep the pressure on Brundle and run out himself. So they're within a lap of making it. I think Action Express are okay. They pitted a lap after Westbrook.
And the yellow, they're both good, but who knows? We've only had 2 yellows the entire event. Last year we had 5. Of course, it was a different scenario last year.
We understand the 85 car, which was the PC car involved in that incident, which Tracy Crone wound up on the tire wall, is being called in for a stop and hold for the contact. He'll get a 60-second stationary penalty at the pit box, at the penalty box, I should say. Amazing that in this 5.5 hours race thus far, and a pretty frantic pace, we've had just 2 full course cautions for a total of 10 laps. Let's get more on the fuel situation now with Darren Law in the pits.
Yeah, I'm with the 94 Turner car, and these guys have been mapping the strategy as we've all talked about the whole race through. They've been very dominant. They can run quite a bit longer. Their plan is on the next stop, they can short fill the car. They're going to leave Dane in and then go to the finish with that.
I'm surprised on that, Darren. I thought from the lap that they pitted, which was just 10 laps ago, they might be good to go the rest of the way. I spoke to Don Salama, who's the strategist with the team. They were looking at this replay of the incident with the 85 and the 57, and been deemed a penalty for the 85, and that's a close one. What do you think, Dawes?
Yeah, you know, it's kind of a strange thing. If you look, the car was in there far enough, and this happens all the time. He tried to get on the brakes to get away, which made him look like the culprit, didn't it?
It does.
Because he puts the brake on to try to avoid the wreck. He slides further back alongside the Ferrari, which turns the Ferrari around instead of just banging off the side and continuing, and we see it a lot.
Hey, Darren, what's the situation on the 94 with fuel? They really have to make another stop?
Yeah, and you're right. I just talked to Don Salama, and they said they cannot make it all the way to the finish. They're going to have to short fill, but they're pretty comfortable with that, and it'll be a quick stop for them.
Wow. That surprises me. He pitted a lap after the Ferrari of Townsend Bell, and right now he's got a 20-second lead. If they have to do a splash, it is going to be neck and neck. Be interested to know what's happening with the 555. Brian, what do you know?
I was just talking to Ian Willis down here, and he says they're very good to go. I asked him about the 94, and he goes, well, they should be good to go.
Yeah.
I can't believe that they would need the fuel.
I think maybe Salama's hoping people are listening, and they're thinking they have to stop. I think they're good. They do play those games with...
oh, sure they do. Everybody
TV
watches
types.
everybody else.
Yes.
Sometimes we are the messengers.
I don't think they'd exhausted their previous fuel load, and they just responded to Townsend Bell having made a pit stop. They pitted on the next lap just to cover it, which you have to do again if there's a full caution. Pit lane is closed, and you're going to lose all of the lead that you had. So when they pitted the next lap, I had to assume they were within their fuel window.
Now the number 10 is in the pits. Max Angelelli got it up to 4th place. Now Jordan Taylor will take over to run it to the finish. Brian.
As an interesting strategy, they ran it a long way. I think maybe they were looking for a yellow for some help, like Calvin was talking about from the other team. Jordan takes over, and we don't have much time in this race to get it back up to the front after that stop.
33 minutes and 38 seconds to be precise.
Should be interesting. Those guys are going to be awful close on fuel with no yellow.
37 miles an hour looks awfully slow in the pit lane.
It is awful slow.
Now on the button. Darren.
Hey, Calvin, let me just make a correction there. After you guys mentioned the fuel situation, I went back and said, hey, the 555 can make it. And Don Salama said, oh, I'm sorry. Did I tell you I had the short fill? He said, I meant to say I already short filled. We're good to the end.
Right.
Beautiful. I love it.
Punched him in the shoulder.
Yeah.
Little tire smoke off the 23 Porsche
I
back
saw
there
that, yeah.
as it loaded going up the hill.
Getting a little fender rub.
Tell you, Westy's now nearly 28 seconds behind Alex Brundle, and I think Brundle has pulled enough of a lead on a green flag pit stop. If he only needs about 5 seconds of fuel, he might be able to maintain the lead of this motor race. It's going to be awfully tight. Westy's in a really tough situation. He's got to push hard. Don't let that gap get too big, but he's marginal on fuel as well. I think Alex Brundle is in the best position right now. Obviously, he's got the lead of the race. That may seem obvious, but I mean, in terms of strategy, he's in pretty good shape.
Well, it is a long pit lane, though. It's going to be a great run to the finish. We'll take a break to get one out of the way right now, so stand by. Alex Brundle checks his mirrors. Still has nearly a half minute on Richard Westbrook. There are your class leaders. Watkins Glen may be best known as a longtime home of the U.S. round of the Formula One World Championship. Check out this classic video. Crowds on hand, all stars of the day here for what was by far the richest Formula One race on the calendar. Innis Ireland, initial winner. And there, that Watkins Glen awning is on a special platform above the old start-finish line. From the run down to what is now turns 1 and 2, used to be the old pit lane here at Watkins Glen when Formula One visited back in the day. I want to thank the International Motor Racing Research Center in Watkins Glen, New York for the pictures. Fabulous place to visit if you have an interest in the history of motor racing. Let's go down to Brian Till now.
It is not at all uncommon to hear that Core Autosport is dominating because they've been such a force here in sports car racing over the last couple of years. But John, you and Colin right now dominant in the Prototype Challenge category this season. Does that make it difficult to stay focused when you've won 3 of the 4 races this year? Does it make it difficult to stay up?
It has been a great season. We're so fortunate to have so many talented people in our team, and every event we have a plan, and we pretty much try to stay to the plan. And of course, Colin, you know, as soon as he gets in the car, he's an absolute rocket ship, and that's sort of our ace in the hole. And that's what's happening this afternoon. He's being so fast. I'm really proud of all the guys, and it's been a great season.
I would say that it has, because when you look at this organization as a whole, both the GTLM and the Prototype Challenge side of this thing, you have grown it so much. Has it met or exceeded your expectations?
Oh, by far has exceeded. I mean, it's you know, to be on this stage with all the best drivers and teams in the United States, and certainly some internationally as well. And to compete well with them is it's fantastic, and it's really hats off to everyone here. And we're having a good time.
I would say compete well is somewhat of an understatement. Congratulations on the job you guys are doing. Best of luck today.
Well said, Brian. A bit of an understatement.
Yeah, his manufacturing facility is just absolutely superb, and the race shop is incorporated into that. And you know, when Pat Long drove with the Core Autosport team last year as a privateer effort, he just went to the Porsche factory squad and said, you have to consider this group to run the factory cars. And they looked into it and said, yeah, this is the right fit. And they came out of the box with 2 wins this year on the GTLM side, because Core Autosport obviously run the Porsches here as well. And that is a first-class operation, supremely led by the team manager, Morgan Brady.
Takes a lot to impress the German Porsche engineers, but that's exactly what they are with Core Autosports, is impressed. So big things for them in the future, including this race, as Colin Brown continues on his way, although he's about to pass one of those factory Porsche GTLM cars. On board the 911 Porsche, where's Colin?
Should be slipping by on the right here in a minute, particularly when they get the brakes on. Remember, these things run about the same straightaway speed. There he goes.
There he goes.
The 2 classes, or about all the cars, run very close on top end.
Yeah.
It's not till you get on the brakes do they
You have a
differentiate.
Pro-Am driver, Dorsey, in one of the
here's a big
22s. 23, excuse me.
Now this is going to be our full course caution more than likely.
Well,
I mean, they might be able to drive on. It's hard to say. But with two of them in the target zone.
Yes, full course caution, our third.
Boy.
I would have called the same call
Okay,
there.
this is going to be a shootout. This means Westbrook will
boy.
definitely be good. There goes through the 42. The overall leader just flashed through the scene there. And the question is, Alex Brundle's been burning fuel. Now he needs to save enough under this caution.
The 23 turns into the 08, almost a carbon
Yeah, it's
copy
the
of
same
the
kind of deal.
Tracy Crone incident with the 85.
Ian James behind the wheel of the Seattle Racing, the heart of racing. Alex Job racing Porsche.
Took a straight impact in the front, obviously.
Tough weekend for the 08. Rebounded nicely. Tagliani behind the wheel once again.
23's been in a crash before this as well. And this
You're
time it's the
clear.
radiator.
Back
Look at all of the fluid.
Yeah, fluid coming out from under the nose. Although some of it appears to be coming from the tire wall. I wonder if there's water pooled up on those tires.
You get reverse.
Big question on the 42, Brian. What are you hearing?
Well, it was interesting. As soon as that crash happened, Alex Brundle was one of the first cars around the corner and immediately slowed. The yellow flag came out pretty quickly, and I had just been down to talk to that team, but we all know that, well, maybe fuel information hasn't been completely accurate with the stories that crews were telling us today, but I walked down there and some of the crew members were talking with one of the engineer, and the engineer
Back up. You're clear. You're clear.
You're the crew talking to him, and one of the engineers was saying to one of the crew members, it's very, very close, and I asked him, I said, there's no way you can make it to the end, and he just kind of smiled and said, maybe.
No.
Well, will this full course caution allow the 42 to make it to the end? I can't see how that could be because he was well ahead of the 90 and certainly the 5 with the stop, but perhaps, just perhaps, the 42 may be good to go if this takes too long.
Yeah, I think that's the length of this caution is to determine that. They did 27 laps on their last fuel run. They were effectively, let me look at it right here, 18 laps into this run. So they had 9 laps of fuel left on board, and there's more than 9 laps to run under green, but it's just a question of how much of the clock gets eaten up here with the cleanup.
Looked like Alex Tagliani was about to pull away in the 08 car. As you mentioned, Calvin, it's been a tough weekend for them, including a heavy accident involving Tagliani in practice.
Watch this. He spins it around in turn 10, and then he's seeing the traffic. He tried to hit the gas pedal thinking it would rotate the car, and he just basically drove right in the front of Chris Miller here. This was just really a bad scene. You see Chris Miller just cannot believe it, just developing right in front of him. He committed to go left, Dorsey. No way out.
Yeah, no, he was trapped, and that was just a terrible way to, tear a car up.
Those cars weren't fixed in time for qualifying, so as Darren Law reported at the top of the show, they started at the back, and now more misery. Well, he hasn't been able to pull away, so this could be a fairly lengthy caution as we come up on 22.5 minutes to go in the race. Stay with us. Welcome back to Watkins Glen, riding aboard the BMW safety car, the 5th generation M3. M3 in the sedan version, M4 in the coupe. Spectacular car, leading what's been a spectacular race. Our 3rd full course caution of the day, and that's going to lead to a pretty exciting final 20 minutes of this race. We're now just under 19 minutes remaining. Quickly to the pit lane, Darren Law is standing by with Christina Nielsen.
Christina, you guys have had a really solid run today. I know you had a couple problems early on, but you guys are the biggest mover of the race. You moved up 9 positions from your qualifying spot. How has the race been for you?
It's been a great race. I mean, we've had small issues such as a flat tire or small details that made us lose some seconds during our pit stops, which has influenced our race, and we're not on the leading lap, unfortunately, but we did have a terrific run, and hopefully we can keep it up from there. I think Kuba did an amazing job in the start of the race. He really gained some positions, and overall our pace has been good. I've done some good lap times, he's done some good lap times, and they've been consistent.
All right, best of luck to the finish.
It's Christina, one of 2 female drivers in the race.
And Bob, you were right. The water was from the tire wall itself. You can see that very visibly here. Not so much from that Porsche radiator, but it still needs to be cleaned up.
It's going to be a few minutes yet. They've got to get the car up on the rollback and put down that Speedy Dry to sop up the fluids.
You know, those tire walls have some nasty varmints in them sometimes. The ones in Florida have scorpions, and the ones in Oklahoma have tarantulas. And
yeah, the winter up here kills all that stuff.
Yeah, the ones up here have ice. That's not good either. How would we know that? Well,
this is going to be a fascinating shootout at the end. Does Alex Brundle have enough fuel on board with the save he's getting right now? Barbosa was coming hard on Westbrook as well, so that's going to be fascinating. Burt Frizzell, what a job for those guys, not running the full season. Burt and his brother Brian and John Fogerty.
It's going to take them a lap or so to clean that water up. I mean, that's the biggest problem. The tire wall just had so much moisture in it, and it all ran downhill and onto the racing surface, and that's a really fast corner.
Earlier, we talked about the passing of John Bishop, among whose credentials as executive director of the SCCA was the creation of the U.S. Road Racing Championship, the USRRC. It was in one of those USRRC events here in 1967 that Bob Bondurant had an accident that changed his life and the lives of so many others with the creation of his famed driving school. Bob and his wife Pat are here this weekend, and we got to speak with Bob about that incident and what it meant to him.
I remember the accident. It was a horrible accident. I went up in the air at 150 miles an hour. I broke my legs, broke my arms, broke almost everything. I was told I'd never walk again. I thought, wow. I said, somehow I have to walk again. And learning how to walk again, I thought, you know, maybe I'll do a school. And I looked at that, thought about it. I thought, I'm going to do the school, I'm going to learn how to walk and make it happen. And it's been fantastic ever since. I love what I'm doing. It's just incredible.
Bob had a short but glittering driving career, including a win in Le Mans and a Cobra Daytona Coupe, co-driving with Dan Gurney. Darren Law, I know you work as the Chief Operating Officer at the Bondurant Driving School, and Bob, even at his age, is still out there hammering out the laps in the school cars.
Yeah, Bob, you're right. I've been with the Bondurant School for a long time. Great program, taught a lot of drivers, a lot of people, really benefited a ton of people, and he's amazing. You know, Bob's 81 years old, and he still comes in every day. He'll still jump in a Corvette. We've got a bunch of brand new Stingrays out there, and he still burns off laps on the racetrack. I hope when I'm at 81 years old, I'm doing the same thing as him.
81, don't we all? Had spent some time with Bob and Pat when we visited Scottsdale, Arizona for the Barrett-Jackson auction back in January. It was good to see them here this weekend. A look down into the Corvette pit area with all the monitors, the engineers, and a few of the mechanics, and a couple of the drivers actually look at.
Their comfort zone has just been erased by this yellow.
Yeah,
They've now got a Viper right on their tail.
Now it's time for everybody to tighten up those belts a little bit more and get ready for the Dash for Cash here at Watkins Glen. We'll pause now for just 30 seconds to hear this message from General Motors. Stay with us.
All right, so what do we go at 85? So he's done 21 laps. We're gonna have 6 laps.
Back at Watkins Glen, another look out the back of the BMW safety car. We've got 13 minutes, 25 seconds remaining. We expect to go green this time by.
And these guys better start scrubbing those tires and doing it good. I see all that rubber bouncing around. See it right there coming out from the pace car.
What's going to help our leader here, Dorsey, is Alex Brundle has a couple of lap cars behind him and the second place runner, Richard Westbrook, right now.
Good to see guys giving all they have. You're going to have 12 minutes or so sprint race here.
It's like Frizzell is there as well as the 60 car. What are you hearing down there, Brian?
When I was down at the 3 camp, Dan Binks looked at me and he goes, we were 1 lap short or 0 on fuel. The yellow couldn't have come at a better time. We're now good to go. And by the way, Antonio Garcia, he doesn't like snakes.
Okay.
I'm not sure what that's
That one
about.
almost got me in the ear as it went right over the top of my head. Oh, I see Viper. Got it.
Work with me. Come on.
Holy
It's long in the
Hey.
race. Don't be dropping bombs like that.
You can pull that stuff in the first hour, not hour 6.
That's right. That's 6 hours of more or less continuous talking. More on the 90 with Darren.
Hey, I went over to the 90 car guys and said, all right, what's the strategy now? You got enough fuel? Is it flat out? They sat there for a second and looked at me and they go, guys, just prepare for some good TV.
Look at the rubber, guys. Look at that rubber flying everywhere. There's going to be a war on.
We've had a lot of chats with these guys about what makes for good racing TV. It's not always what the racers want to see. We've got one of those golden moments right now. 11 minutes and 50 seconds to go as we go green at the Glen.
Tell you what, that was close. Brundle almost passed the pace car. That was really tight. Look at this, the X Express car. Frizzell down to the inside, trying to get back on the lead lap.
He's got it inside, and he might stick, too. He's going to out-accelerate up this hill.
This is not what the 42 team wanted.
This is not for the lead of the motor race, folks. This is just to get back on the lead lap for the number 9 Action Express. Here comes Westbrook. This is for the lead.
But he's going to pull a draft off that lead car.
Side.
No, he's by. He's already by.
He's past. Oh, you can almost see the frustration as Alex Brundle just flexed his left hand.
Oh, he's going to be aggressive here. He's got to be. He's got to get back around on this end of the racetrack.
Yeah, this is where he's really good. Look at his speed through the carousel. He's using it all
He's
up.
on
He's
the
in the
turn.
grass. He's looking to the inside.
Can he stick it down there? No, Westy defends. He gets it down.
Putting it all on the line for a win at the 6 hours at the Glen.
Right-hander coming up. Here comes the toe of the boot. Right-hander uphill.
Westbrook needs Frizzell to go. Frizzell's got to be on it. He's got to have good pace here. Otherwise, he's going to hurt Westbrook. Remember, they're both Chevy powered, but competing teams.
Oh,
he got an accident.
This is going to bring out the caution. One of them.
That's the
This is a
01
big
from
wreck.
Ganassi. I didn't see what the other car was.
Wow.
Oh, it's the number 7. That's the Martini, the Star
Van der
Wars
Zande
PC car.
was running in the 4th spot in the PC class. 2nd in the points coming into this event.
Wow, 10 minutes left. That's going to be a bad deal for us.
Still green right now, but there's going to be a full course caution.
There's no way those cars can move.
Can you believe it? Can you believe it?
Oh, my.
Alex Brundle can't believe it. He cannot believe what just happened to him.
But both of those cars are not movable. I saw an A-frame, an A-arm laying there. Here comes Pruitt. He's okay. I think he's good. He's out. He's mad.
Oh, he's limping.
He's limping.
Well, Scott has some chronic bad wheels from an accident many
is
years
gonna
ago.
Be a hard hit. Watch this.
Oh, it's going to be Van der Zande on Pruitt, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a pile driver.
The 01 became the crushable structure.
Better view here. He's going to. This is a tough hit because watch, Pruitt hits the wall and then he gets T-bone right there.
Yeah.
Right in the left front wheel. Look how it's pushed back up into the firewall.
Boy, oh boy.
Been a rough couple of weekends for the Ganassi boys. They have not had the best of luck this season.
And now he's up and walking around a little bit better. That's good to see.
You'd have to assume that Van der Zande just got in there a little bit deep or something.
We don't know that he didn't get tapped too, though, for that matter.
Well, I didn't see anyone else involved in the picture there, Doris. Just looked like those 2 cars.
Probably was just those 2 cars.
It just drove past me. This isn't a racing.
Radio communication with Alex Brundle, and I think what he's talking about is just the difference in the speed of the Daytona prototype configuration up against one of these P2. We see it in lap times. He's got lap time, but you just get hurt. The raceability on restarts, straightaway speed, they just don't have it, and you're just a sitting duck until you can get into your rhythm and get your lap pace to take effect. And I think what really hurt him was, I mean, Frizzell's doing what he needs to do, try and get back on the lead lap. There's another quickie yellow, he's back in the game, so he had to do that. But again, these Daytona prototypes, Dorsey, with a heavier weight, their tires come alive a little bit quicker as well.
And they accelerate from a lower speed to get to their top speed quicker, which left Alex completely, you know.
Another look, we see it. I mean, Pruitt was just running his normal line, and it seemed like he just got attacked from behind there. I don't know why Van der Zande would have been considering trying to pass a car that's in a faster category. Here we look at it. He's a long way into the corner, too.
Yeah, that was only 2 cars there.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt that Pruitt got hit.
Wow. Let's go to Brian Till with Scott Pruitt's co-driver, Memo Rojas.
Memo Rojas and I were just standing here talking, and it's kind of one of those things of what can you do? This is one of those weekends that you definitely want to forget, but as you look forward to the rest of the season, you guys have to put the bad races behind you to get back in this championship. What is it that you guys have to do? What do you need to focus on from here on out?
Well, we had one of our worst races today, a problem with a GT car early on, took us laps down, and now Scott had a contact with a PC car, took us out of the race. So I mean, it's one of those deals. I don't remember having 2 DNFs consecutively ever. We had a mechanical failure at Detroit, and we have contact this weekend in the Glen. You know, we need to get back together, think about what's going on. We know we can do it. We're fast. It's just been a bad streak, and I know we'll get back.
They just need to do what has won them championships before. But I said earlier today, this is the worst start to a season that this team has ever had, and now you add today into it, and without a doubt, they've never had a season like this one.
Well, with all they've accomplished over the years, multiple championships, so many race wins, the expectations are pretty high, so anything short of winning is going to be tough.
Well, they made the switch to the Ford power plant, and they did it late. They didn't get a lot of track time. They went to Daytona, had some struggles there, but then they rebounded so quickly by getting that first victory at Sebring, and everyone's like, oh boy, we thought we had Ganassi in a hole, and they're immediately back on top of the podium. And since that time, it just really hasn't gone their way, Dors.
Well, you know, no matter how good a team you are, if you're in this game long enough, you're going to have a season that goes sour. It goes bad, and it's not necessarily your fault. This is one of these cases. There's nothing Scott did wrong there. You know, he clearly got taken out, but it is a bad year for him. It's going to continue being a bad year. I mean, all they can do now is regroup and try to keep a positive attitude and try to build the Ford, connection and get the data they can do.
This may be a victory for the 90 car, and it was won, if in fact it is a win, on the restart that has Alex Brundle so upset. Here's another look.
Here we're looking, as we said, there's 2 lap cars between Alex Brundle and Richard Westbrook, who runs in second. One of them is this man, Bert Frizzell. He dives to the inside. He washes out Alex a little bit, but watch behind. Westbrook has got a great run. He's got around the 60 car, and he's coming strong, and he's got horsepower to spare coming up this straightaway, Dors.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about, climbing that big hill. Look at the difference in speed right here.
Credit to Brundle there, he didn't block.
No, he did not.
He knew he was
block.
coming with a fast rate of speed. That could have been really hairy.
And it's a drive around. I mean, he just drove right by him like
you saw his hands on the steering wheel, Dors. He's like almost saying, what can I do, what can I do?
Right. Can't do anything.
Like shrugging.
And I tell you, Jordan Taylor also, we didn't talk about it because it didn't come into fruition, but Jordan Taylor was right there to pounce as well.
And Alex attacked, got the left side wheels in the dirt. Dropped back just a little bit, went a little wide there, and was planning to counterattack when it all came apart with the incident between the PC car and the 01.
Can Westbrook and Valiente finally break through and get that first win for the Visit Florida number 90 team?
See him checking his mirror. He knows he's coming. There's nothing he can do about it.
It's the 9 that's coming.
Well, the problem is, too, remember, Brundle doesn't have the right side mirror look. Remember, he can't see the inside. He doesn't have the lens in his side view mirror. He can't look to the inside. He's trying to use the left side mirror to look to his inside on the right.
That's why he's turning his head
look
so
at
far.
Him. So it's really tough for him to protect the inside line of the corner.
guys, I talked to Alex Brundle earlier, and just when we were in the interview, and when we finished the interview, he said, I just don't know what to do. The problem is the strength of our car doesn't start until after the bus stop, and the strength of the Daytona prototype starts in turn 1 all the way to the bus stop. So it's one of those things that they may turn very similar lap times. They just find the time in different areas, and that was one of Brundle's frustrations. He said, I feel like I got mugged down the straightaway, and that was on the initial start. Well, guess what? He just got mugged again on the restart.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about, Brian. That's a perfect analogy. That car is really good on the top speed end of the racetrack, which is the back part. But the Daytona prototypes with their V8 power, well, they're really strong getting up through those hills.
I was watching that onboard with Alex Brown. I'm like, why is he looking to the left? You need to take to the right.
That's why. Yeah,
realized he can't see at the side.
And I couldn't imagine why he was turning his head so far, but that's why he was.
Yeah, he's just trying to suss out what's going
figure
on.
Out where is he?
I don't think it made a difference, but remember, Westy passed him to his left, so we would have seen him coming in the mirror.
He couldn't do a thing, short of throwing a big block and causing a wreck. He couldn't do a thing about that speed.
Saw the 01 car being trucked away, the carcass of the PC car going up on the rollback, but I don't think the area is going to be cleared in time to prevent.
Getting close. They're within a lap, but
well, you've got fluid
some
over here
fluid on the
left.
racetrack.
Yeah, I don't see this going anywhere.
The tire barrier's in good enough shape. They're going to do everything they possibly can to finish this race under green.
I think the only way they could have done it is if they stopped it for a while and cleaned up the mess.
Let's go to Brian Till quickly.
Christian Fittipaldi down here, and Christian, I know you guys going for 3 in a row. It looks like that won't happen, but the important thing is whether it's in the Patron Endurance Cup or in the Drivers' Championship and Team Championships, you guys are going to gather good points today. Is that all right?
Well, that's definitely all right. Exactly what you mentioned. If we can't make it 3 in a row, then we try to maximize on points. We close the gap to the 10 car. We open the gap to the 1-0. So all in all, 0-1. So all in all, I think it was like a good day. Unfortunately, all the stars didn't align our way, but I'll take it. Continental Tires did an awesome job. Chevy, Action Express, I'm very thankful to all of them. So we'll see what happens in Motorsports, but obviously we're really anxious to go on to the next race.
Yeah, we're going to see what happens right here in just a second, because they may actually get 1 lap of green in.
Wow.
Talk about a shootout. Lights are out. Here we go, boys.
Car.
This could be a 1-lap sprint.
Watch Brundle. He's going to try and get a run. He's got to try and time this, but remember, Westy's got the torque. Once he lights the fire, he's going to go. Look at Westy looking in the mirrors. Here he goes. He's on it.
It's not a green-white checker. It's just a white checker. As we go green, 1 lap for the win at the Salem 6 Hours.
Westy did it right.
5 comes around Jordan Taylor.
Good battle here, but Westy just had all of the cards there. He had the track position, and he had the torque of that Daytona prototype motor.
But remember what Brian said, the 42, the Morgan Nissan, comes into its own in the second half of the lap.
Yeah,
Does Alex Brundle have enough car under him?
He's going to be pushing hard, but I think the gap is too big as a gain.
Here
Alex
comes
is
the 5.
using that left side mirror. He's looking in the left side mirror. He can't see his inside.
Here comes the chicane.
Barbosa on the attack. Does Westy have enough of a gap to keep it?
Oh, he's inside. Brundle's got to nail this corner. He's really quick here.
This is the corner that he really likes. Look at the speed he carries through there. Can Westy hang on for their first win of 2014?
He's making ground. He's actually making ground on Westy here. This is where the car's good.
He's drawing up. This is in the toe of the boot.
He's going to push through here. He's going to push really hard. This car's made moves down into this next place. He slips a little bit. He slips.
Didn't hurt him. It didn't hurt him that much. It's actually a little bit quicker that way sometimes.
I don't think the 5's a factor anymore. It's going to be all between the 90 and the 42. Can Brundle get to Westbrook?
Westy done a tremendous job here, but Brundle's going to come at him. This 42 car is going to be quick through these final 2 corners, but Westbrook has the gap.
Without a mistake by Westbrook, he can't get it done. He's going to have to defend on the 5.
Yep, I think there's just too far to go and not enough time to get there. Squirming under acceleration, Brundle's giving it everything, but it won't be enough. A 1-lap dash to the checkered flag. Richard Westbrook and Michael Valiente win for the Visit Florida team. Here comes your leader in GTLM, Antonio Garcia.
Nice job. Yeah, baby.
Wow, 3 in a row for Corvette.
Oh,
that was close.
Where the Viper was.
That's how close it was.
Viper was right there.
We got 2 other classes out there, boys. This thing has gone down to the wire. Plowman's behind Colin Brown for PC. Cameron's trying to hold off Townsend.
Picking up all the clack he can get.
Yeah, get all that extra weight on the car.
Yeah, Dane Cameron comes through.
So unofficially, Colin Brown in the 54 will win the PC class. And our GT winner will be Dane Cameron in the BMW for Turner Motorsports.
Well, my hat's off to IMSA for giving us that opportunity.
Yeah.
That last lap, that was fantastic.
That was cool. What a great drive here. 555 car Frame Motorsport, another great podium run. They'll extend their championship lead tonight.
And there's your GTD class winner. Cameron and Paltala giving it a great run for Will Turner and the Turner Motorsports boys.
Second win of the year, following up on Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca.
And that was close as well. You saw the 555 Ferrari of Townsend Bell right there with Cameron. There are your 4 class winners at the stripe. Wow, what a finish. We'll be back to the Glen. Welcome back to Watkins Glen, where the post-race festivities have begun. The next stop as we kick off the second half of the Tudor United Sports Car Championship will be from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in Bowmanville, Ontario, July 13th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Fox Sports 1. So be sure to join us for that. Richard Westbrook and Michael Valiente pick up their first Tudor United Sports Car Championship victory and the first for both drivers here at the Salem 6 Hours of the Glen. For our Audi move of the race, you knew this was coming. A great restart by Richard Westbrook as he follows the number 9 up the hill. It already got by the race-leading number 42, and then it was all Westy.
Perfect timing, a great run through the infamous S's. Brundle couldn't block him, and he got through the lead. And there you see the body language on the steering wheel. Alex Brundle cannot believe he just lost the lead of this motor race.
Not a thing he could have done about it either. That was just deluxe.
A one-lap shootout, and not the only one, we should point out, on that last lap. Here's a look at our BMW race results in the prototype category.
Well, just a fantastic result for the Visit Florida team, getting their first win of the year, but it was really close over the P2 machine of Brundle, Yackerman, and Ho Pin Tong.
Difficult finish for Barbosa Fittipaldi, looking for that 3rd straight win. Let's get down to hear from our winners with Brian Till.
Richard Westbrook celebrating right now with the team. Will get his helmet off and his gloves off, but handshakes all around, and he'll work on that Hans device in the radio as Michael Valiente gives congratulations. And I talked to Michael when I came into Victory Lane here, and he goes, who would have thought that? That's just crazy. And Westbrook right now working to get his helmet off and his Hans device. It was a victory that was, I think, hard-earned would be an understatement, guys, and it came down right to that bitter end. And I'm sure on the restart there at the end, he was a little bit worried. See if we can get a word with him now that he's got his helmet off. That was absolutely fantastic. I mean, does that make up for losing to Calvin in golf the other day?
Yeah, he only beat me by 1 shot. No, I mean, that was amazing. And, you know, everyone part of this Visit Florida team is, you know, this is for them because, you know, we started off the season so badly with the accident, obviously. And, you know, it took a long time to bounce back. And me and Michael were talking, we knew we just needed a podium just to get everyone's appetite back, everyone's confidence back. And you see the results now. Now we're, you know, fighting constantly at the front, and it's just, you know, it's the best place to be. And well done to this guy because he did an awesome job.
Congratulations on the win, guys.
Congratulations indeed. Now here's a look at the updated season-long championship standings.
Well, Fittipaldi and Barbosa, they close in on that championship lead, but look what that win has done for them. Following up with the podium, Westbrook and Valiente only 13 points out of the championship hunt as well.
Now let's get back down to Victory Lane. Darren Law standing by with the GTLM winners.
Standing here with Antonio Garcia and Jan Magnussen. Antonio, you guys, you have to be so proud of that. This is such a hard fight all the way to the end. And the final lap, green flag, 1 lap to go. It had to be a pretty hectic run.
Yeah, I think I know how it works. I mean, I've been a few of those in Grand Am, in ALMS last year. And they were telling me, yeah, it might be white flag and checkers. Like, I think I need to keep the tires clean. And obviously we go green and white flag. So it was good. I mean, we really struggled at the end because they wanted me to run a fuel number just in case. I mean, just to be sure we had fuel enough to go to the end or be able to push to the end. So it was managing that gap in order to be able to push at the really end. But that yellow maybe helped us a little bit, but I would say it was really, really tough for everybody to have a launch after a yellow and then a single lap after 6 hours. So it was pretty good. So happy for Team Chevy and Corvette.
Beautiful run for Corvette. First time here in the 6 hour. Back to the booth.
And third straight GTLM class victory for the boys. Here's a look at the GT Le Mans class standings for the year.
Well, the BMW guys you see down in second place, Bill Arverlin, Andy Prio, I thought they would do a lot better than they did today, and they split the Corvettes now. They're Tommy Miller and Oliver Gavin there in third place. This is going to be a good battle all year, the way I see it.
No question about it. Now let's hear from some dominators. Back down to Brian.
Yeah, definitely dominators. James Gouet, John Bennett, we talked to him earlier, and Colin Brown. Man, what a season. We talked to John a little bit earlier. We talked about the dominant performance. If I ask you if it was one thing, could you put your finger on one thing? Could you?
Well, I think, the one thing is we certainly had a really fast car, and, these guys made us, had really good pit stops, and I think that's what helped put us in a position to win the race. And, one of my wife's best friends had somebody really close to her pass yesterday, actually. So felt like we might have had somebody watching above for us, keeping an eye on us.
Well, congratulations on the win today, guys.
Fourth PC victory for the Brown Bennett team. First win at Watkins Glen in the 6 hours for both of them. Here are the
They're
points.
keeping the Grand Slam going, Bob. They can do it with a win at Petit. They've won the 3 big ones so far, and they've extended their championship lead. What a run they're having. 4 wins out of 5.
No question about it. Now our GTD class winners with Darren Law.
Dane Cameron brought home the car for Turner Motorsports. You guys were really dominant today. I mean, you led the start of the race. You dominated through the whole thing, and you really looked very solid. How was that final stint and that final green run?
Yeah, the restart was pretty wild. That was the only thing I didn't want to see was a restart because we struggled for the straight line speed. But I knew we had a little bit of space with some lap cars, so that was enough to keep us safe. But absolutely picture perfect day all around. Can't thank Paul Dallavana, Northwest, Turner Motorsports, all the guys, Will Turner. Marcus did an awesome job. Everything was just perfect. Couldn't have gone any better, so really happy to get this win.
Great run for these guys. Marcus and Dane's first 6 hour win.
They were tough. They were really strong today.
No question about it. And here are the updated season-long championship points in GT Daytona.
Well, Sweedler and Bell extend their lead a little bit, but one thing to consider is that Dane Cameron and Marcus Paltella didn't get any points because of a drive time issue at Daytona. If they'd got those points for a 7th place finish, they would be leading the championship right now.
And now let's check the Patron point standings distributed today in round 3.
There you see the winners. Spirit of Daytona take it in the prototype division. Corvette Racing looked tough all day long. Core Autosport, as you'd expect, and Turner Motorsport. They pretty much led most of this race today.
And there you see 1 round remaining in the Patron North American Endurance Cup. The final race at the Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta, October 4th. A $300,000 bonus purse on the line, as well as, count on it, the season championships in all 4 categories. Final thoughts after the 6 hours, Dorsey?
I'm incredibly happy that the corner workers worked that hard and that IMSA allowed that restart to happen at the end of that race. That was a fantastic event. We had a huge crowd here. It's all good.
We just saw some great battles in all 4 classes, Bob. I think the parity in the series is excellent. They've really done a great job with the balance of performance, getting the cars equal. It makes for great racing every weekend now.
No question about it. Don't forget the next round of the championship from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, Mosport, to you old school fans. July 13th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, live here on Fox Sports 1. 6 hours went away in the blink of an eye, it seems. We hope you enjoyed every minute of it with us. For Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Darren Law, and Brian Till, I'm Bob Varsha. We'll see you from Canada for the next round of the Tudor United Sports Car Championship. Until then, so long from Watkins Glen International.